You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into our special Dog Pound Podcast OHL Priority Selection Draft live stream right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening when this episode is released the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Brandon Caputo here with you to go over the round 1, 2, and 3 picks for the Niagara IceDogs in the 2025 OHL Priority Selection. The IceDogs will pick 10th overall coming up very shortly, and they'll also have a third-round pick to go over as well in today's show. Make sure you give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage, as well as you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all that good sort of thing by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network for all of our short reels and great content with all the shows that we're doing for the OHL playoffs, including the OHL and 60 podcast, which brings me to my special guest co-host today. Cam was unable to join us on this episode, but was able to make a call to the bullpen and bring in Reece Doumani from the OHL and 60 podcast. Has also called games for the IceDogs on the radio side of things and covers the OHL pretty extensively. So, Reece, thanks a lot for jumping in today. I'd call you Fernando Rodney or somebody. I don't know what Detroit Tigers. I don't know many Detroit Tigers relievers.
Hey, he's coming to Hamilton, Fernando Rodney.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know many relievers of the Detroit Tigers. If they're not Yankees, I really don't care about them. But regardless of that, Reece, thanks a lot for joining us. I know you and Colin Ward are doing great things over in the OHL and 60 podcast, which is now on the network as well, and then with the Dogcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's draft day is always one of those days that you circle on the calendar as soon as it's released, and you make sure you have nothing going on for a few hours on the Friday, and then pretty well for most of the morning and the afternoon on the Saturday. So no, it's a pleasure to be here. I remember my draft days as an intern here back in I guess it would have been 2017 draft, 2018 draft, and 2019 draft. So it's always a pleasure to come back.
So we've got a lot of stuff to go over as far as draft history. We've got a projected lineup for the IceDogs. Obviously, very early. There's still a whole offseason to go, and with the draftees and things like that. But we'll kind of talk about the way the team kind of looks after losing in the first round to the Barrie Colts, their first playoff appearance since 2018-19 season, Reece, which I think ironically was the last year that you were in Niagara full time. But we don't have to hear about that anymore. But from that standpoint, again, IceDogs pick 10th overall, so we will get you the pick as it happens, and we will make sure to update you. We've also got special guests lined up throughout the night. We're going to hear from IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti, Head Coach Ben Boudreau, and Director of Scouting Adam Henrich on the whole draft process, and maybe a few others as well throughout the night. Kind of see how long this goes, but rounds 1, 2, and 3 will be with you here tonight. Reece, general thoughts first on the IceDogs season that just ended this past weekend, obviously going up against a very formidable Barrie Colts team that loaded up at the deadline. Looks like they're going to be a strong contender, not only for a Bobby Orr trophy in the Eastern Conference, but possibly going up against London Knights or Windsor Spitfires in the OHL Championship. What did you think of the IceDogs? I know you guys talked about it a little bit on the OHL and 60 this week. What were your first impressions of their first playoff series since 2019?
First of all, it was nice to see this franchise back in the postseason. We know how well this building does, both noise-wise and butts and seats perspective. It does really well, and and it's so loud when it comes to the postseason here at the Meridian Centre. I still remember back, I believe it was the 2017-18 season. I think I've told this story before, where the old goal horn that came over from the Jack, had issues, I guess. I think one of the horns died, and they just had like a really bad tone of one of them, so it sounded really poor for a number of weeks, and they brought in the new horn in time for the 2018 playoffs, which ended in round 2 against the eventual OHL champion Hamilton Bulldogs. But in this playoffs, it's when Colin and I first talked about it at the beginning of the season, it was just this franchise has to get in and experience the playoffs again. Success is a bonus. If you win a round, that's a bonus. So for us, it was really just get in, get Ryan Robrick some experience, get Brady Wasslin experience, get Crete, get Zada into the postseason, get Kevin He into the playoffs, and just let them have a taste. Whether you have success or not is a different story, but just get them in. And obviously you were able to do that throughout the first part of the season. Looking like you had a really good shot to get around and at least get into round 2, if not for a little bit of a tough second half or down the stretch. But no, it was there were games that the IceDogs had no business being in that they found ways to get themselves into, and specifically I'm talking about games 2 and game 5. Game 2, you head into the third period. It's a 5-1 game. Could easily pack it up. Let's head home and try and win hockey games on home ice. Get back into the series. That wasn't the case. The players rightfully had something else in mind, so they made it a game. They got it even. It's just Barry had that a little bit of an extra jump at the end, and were able to come out with a victory. And then I remember, I think I've told you this, where Colin and I were at the Civic Center for Game 5 of the Battalion and Bulldogs series. And, we're keeping tabs on the IceDogs just to see how that's going and if you can get to a Game 6. And remember saying, oh, dang, 5-0 Barrie. It's not looking good for the IceDogs at that point. And then we see 5-1. We're like, all right, Niagara got on the board. Nice. Like to see that. And then it's 5-2, and we're like, should we turn this on? But before we could even turn it on, it was 5-3. So we're like, okay, yeah, we're turning it on. And then obviously weren't able to finish things off. But you know what? For the group and the entire organization, again, you got into the postseason. That's step 1 for the future success of this club. And again, for a couple of games that you probably shouldn't have been in, they did really well against a really good Barrie Colts team. Yeah,
and you heard IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau talk about the fight in his team, especially you could look at that game 2 in Barrie where they score 3 goals in the first 10 minutes there.
Yep.
Get back in that game there, and again they knew they were the underdogs going into the series, but they didn't let that affect them. They self-inflicted wounds at times on and off the ice, but this team really rallied together. And you mentioned getting that playoff experience for those guys like Kevin He that have been here for 3 years.
Yep.
Ryan Robrick, Ethan Zada, Brady Wasslin getting their first taste of playoff experience, even though it was only 5 games. That's so valuable as they go forward here for a very young roster that is looking to contend the next 2 seasons. And co-owner Michelle DeDobler had come into the season. Playoffs period was her message to the organization and the fan base, and they got that. Even though it was just a little taste, 2 games, it was a big moment for the franchise that's still trying to climb back up.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it, right? Once Erie made the playoffs last year, the longest drought was unfortunately here in St. Catharines, and that's obviously broken now. It's only 2-year drought, which is actually really impressive for the league. It's Sarnia and Peterborough, I think, have the longest drought, and it's 2 years.
And Peterborough won the OHL championship.
Exactly. They're still trying to rebound off of that, right? So, that's awesome. The Regina Pats have been looking to get back to contention since 2018 when they hosted the 100th Memorial Cup, right? So it could be way worse than it is for those teams. But I still look back at the 2016-17 IceDogs team and the amount of young talent they had, centered around Akil Thomas. You still had the veterans there, Ryan Mantha, Aaron Hayden, Stephen Dillon now being a full-time starter after backing up for Ned in that OHL finals run. For them, it was you just had to get in. You had to get those guys that experience to move on to the years to come and to start to see success. And David Bell was the head coach that year, and they were able to get into the postseason as the 8th seed, play a very, very tough Peterborough Pete's team that had Dylan Wells in the net. And, they didn't win a game, but that playoff experience really helped. And we obviously didn't see a championship come over the next couple of seasons, which 18-19 was the year they went for it. Mm-hmm. But you need to start that process of winning a championship somewhere. And for the IceDogs this year to just get into the playoffs, the fact that they got a win, I think, is even a bonus. Mm-hmm. Not to say that they weren't capable of getting a win, but I think there are those small victories in a series loss that you have to take and look at as a really good thing for the future of your players' careers and the future of the state of the franchise. So you got to start there. You know what? It sucks to lose in 5. It really does. You want to get that 6th game. You want to get a 3rd home game, of course. But for the fans of the IceDogs, they got in. And I know that's what they wanted. They wanted them to get in. Obviously, they want winning. They want a championship. I was here for 3 years. I fully am aware of what this IceDogs fan base is looking for. The job's not done. There's 2 Eastern Conference championship banners up there, but there's no OHL championship banners up there. So I know what they want, and this is step 1. This was step 1 to just get in and get the experience for that core group that we've mentioned.
Yeah, and when you're building back up from the bottom, it's hard. It takes a couple of years, right? Like, it just doesn't happen overnight, especially when you're rebuilding a culture, rebuilding an organization from the bottom up. It's going to take a few seasons, and again, they're still trying to figure out exactly, what that positive culture is going to be like. Obviously, with things going on off the ice, that's something that they're trying to improve on, and you want to see them get better as they move forward. But this is all learning experiences on and off the ice for this organization from top to bottom about what it's going to take to get back to being a year in and year out competitive program. We hear Rod Mahood, who's in the room with us right in the corner there. Shout out to Rod. But the great PA announcer of the IceDogs says, "Be loud and be proud for your Niagara IceDogs," and that's what we're trying to build back into here with this community and with this team, because we know how passionate the fan base was. We saw, even though it was only 2 games, they came out and came out strong, knowing that their IceDogs were backs were against the wall. So they've been almost more excited for it than anybody else here in the building. So It's nice to be able to give back to them, even though it was just a little bit of a taste there. But the fan base is obviously something that has been through it with this team the last 5 years as well.
Yeah, I mean, we fully know about that. Brandon, you're a Buffalo Sabres fan. I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan. We both have the longest playoff droughts in the NHL right now.
Good times.
Not Los Angeles Angels bad in Major League Baseball. They're on a pretty tough stretch right now. But it's you think back to some of the slogans that the IceDogs have had in the past, and make them see red, or if Ned made a huge save, make them see Ned, right?
One last Jack.
Yeah.
Black the Jack.
Exactly. The Born Ready in the 2018-19 season. We'll give a shout out to Jordan Musa for that one. She did a phenomenal job on the graphics side and on the PR side, communication side for that. So, it's a building that you want to have 5,300 fans in, because it's not like any other building around the Ontario Hockey League. As modern as it is, and it might not have those old quirks that some of those older buildings have, like the Bayshore or the Civic Center or the old Jack had, but it's not the same as the other 19 rinks around the league when there's 5,300 fans in here, and it's something that I still look back on. I'm like, man, that was unreal. I can't remember if it was game 1 or game 2 against Oshawa in that second round, when Jason Robertson scored an overtime winner. Like, the reaction from the crowd after that goal was, you're not going to get that anywhere else. And I want to see that back here. As much as Colin and I are heavily involved in the Bulldogs organization and the entire OHL as a whole, there's something about Niagara, and that's why I live here too. There's something about the Niagara IceDogs and the Meridian Centre that, you'd want to see success for these guys.
Yeah, the league talks about it being such a great franchise that they want to see be successful once again, because it was one of their most successful for so many years. They hadn't missed the playoffs in their franchise's history since moving from Mississauga up until that 1920 season, I guess you could say, that got cut short. But we do have the first overall pick in tonight's OHL entry draft.
Love that.
Hey, it's almost NFL draft time as well.
Hey, it's coming to Pittsburgh. Want to go?
Hey, I'm in. Your Steelers. I don't know. I hope my Falcons aren't picking high, but we should be good. Anyways, Peterborough Pete's take Caden McGregor, the center from the Ottawa Valley Titan U16 program. I don't know if that was much of a shock there that he went number 1 to Peterborough.
I think as this week started to come along, it really wasn't. This is a draft that as the year went on, it obviously you started to understand who was going to go where, and that's the case every single year. But for this one, it took a little bit longer to kind of figure out who's going to be that number one guy, and who's going to get the interview the day before. Unfortunately, we didn't see that, which that's one of my favorite parts of the draft process. But as the last few days started to unfold, it really wasn't a huge shocker. I heard this kid's name all around social media in the Ontario Hockey League. And the Peterborough Petes, again, they're just looking to rebound off of an OHL championship. They haven't gotten back to the playoffs since, albeit it's been 2 years. But that's what happens when you go all in. It's going to be a rough road ahead. You're going to have some high picks. And
Colin
for the
Fitzgerald
Petes,
already.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a big one because it wasn't 100% if he was going to commit or not.
Luckily, he was a Peterborough boy. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no kidding, eh? So for them, it's about building the next crop of stars to play in that historic building at the PMC. And Caden McGregor is going to be a huge part of the Peterborough Petes franchise over the next number of years, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's at the center of another Petes championship.
Hey, when you have the banner up top, you can go through a couple of tough years. There's only one team at the end of the year, and luckily the Petes have that championship banner. So again, they're building back up with their Mike Oak and Rob Wilson do a tremendous job there with Peterborough, both locked up for long periods of time. So they're building this thing back up properly. Caden McGregor, 29 games played this year, 38 goals, 82 points up in the Ottawa Valley area, 5'10" center. So we'll see if center is going to be his thing or if he moves to wing. But you never know when they come up from minor hockey where they're going to play. But he definitely put up monstrous numbers.
Yeah, he did. And I think Peterborough needs a group of forwards that can put the puck in the back of the net. That's been a struggle for the last 2 seasons. For them, talk about the Peterborough Petes being a desperate hockey club over this entire OHL season, and that's because they were desperate for scoring that was lacking for a lot of the year. They had their stretches where they played some good hockey, but they could just never string enough together to get themselves in a position for a playoff spot. So, I love the penalty minutes, 34. That's weird to say, 34 penalty minutes in 29 games, but I think for the Petes as well, you got to add a little bit of grit to your team too, and they're trying to rebuild a culture that just lost Jonathan Malee, who was there for a while. He was a big guy in the locker room. Stonehouse, albeit, was a new addition. GB19, Gavin Bryant, again, he was a mid-season acquisition, but a guy that was great in the room.
The best of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think this is just another piece to the puzzle for Mike Oak and the Peterborough Petes, and they needed a first overall pick to get themselves back into a position where they at least can get a taste of the playoffs.
McGregor and Fitzgerald definitely good, solid core foundational pieces there for Rob Wilson and Mike Oak to build around. We talk about the standings, Reece, when we go back to Niagara for a minute here. You look at the last 2 seasons, and obviously they had the 12-win season 2 seasons ago, and then last season 17 wins, finishing last both seasons. This season obviously got off to a tremendous start, first place in the Eastern Conference for a little bit, even made the CHL top 10 power rankings, and then we talk about the tale of 2 seasons and the season after the trade deadline. We knew that the hard thing for them to do was not do anything, and that's exactly what they did. They gave up 2/3 for Blake Aerosmith in December, but that was really the only move they made. They moved out Mason Ray, they moved out Andrew Vermeulen, but they were able to really know that this young core was something that they had to build around, and this wasn't their year to push all the chips in, and that was very smart by the management staff, knowing how tough the East would have been this season. So I think that they made the right choice in that sense, and they end up finishing 7th in the Eastern Conference, which again, going into the season, you take that as a win, but because you kind of had new expectations where you were at the first half of the year, if they would have started out bad and ended up working their way up to 7th, you'd say it was a successful season. So regardless of that, you look at, they won 29 games in the last 2 seasons combined, and then they win 29 this season. So it's a step in the right direction and where you have to go when you're building back up.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on with the you get to first or second in the conference and it's like
unrealistic
nice.
expectations. Even us on the show all year were at the beginning.
Yeah, you kind of get a little bit ahead of yourself and it's like Yeah, this is awesome, but when you look at the process overall and the window for winning for the IceDogs it really wasn't this year. If it was, we would have seen all your picks gone for a bunch of stars to be brought in, and probably don't have that losing streak down the stretch, and you're probably do have home ice in round number 1. But yeah, you get those high expectations, so you get excited, right? And in a market where you haven't had playoff hockey in a while, that excitement is justified, but also you have to bring it back down to reality. And where this team finished is right where a lot of people expected them to finish. Again, at the end of the day, they were hot to start, and then they fell off as the season went along, but that's right where a lot of people thought they would finish. It's where I thought they would finish, in either the 6, 7, or 8 spot. And you just wanted a taste. You wanted a taste of the playoffs, and they got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this group's going to be better for that moving forward, and not pushing all their chips in, maybe winning a round or two, and then having to do a full reset again. I think they knew that this young core is very bright, and they're going to have some work to do in the offseason, and we'll get into that a little bit. There's definitely going to be some holes to fill, but you talk about some of those top-end players. You definitely don't want to get rid of those guys. I see we do have a couple more picks here coming in. Jacko Wysick goes to the Guelph Storm, 2nd overall from the Sun County Panthers. And as well, Brock Chitteroni goes to the Ottawa 67s from the Barrie Junior Colts. So they're all listed as centers right now, but 3 centers go in the first 3 picks.
Yeah, they likely won't see center to start their OHL careers. That's usually how it works out.
5'10".
Yeah. I mean, unless that's a huge that could be tough. Unless Peterborough, Guelph, Ottawa believe that no, we're just going to throw him into the fire and see how he does. My opinion, that's not the right way to do it. That's why I'm sitting here, and I'm not a general manager of a hockey team. But usually the case is they'll play on the wing for at least half the season. We'll see how they do. If there's injuries, they'll get the opportunity at center. If your team makes trades and a spot opens up at center, they're probably going to slide into there. But more than likely, they're going to learn to round out their game first before they attack at center. More than likely, it would be a 4th-line center position anyways they would get put into, so not a lot of ice time. But, more than likely, we will not see them at center on opening night for the 25-26 season.
Shout out to our good friend Colin Ward. It's actually Wysick, so it's different than the other Wysick that we're used to here in Niagara. No relation to Andrew Wysick either, by the way, if anybody was wondering. Yeah. No relation to the IceDogs' current defenseman.
Do we think it'll be a Donofrio situation where it changes halfway through the season?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you ask the players what their name is, and then they give you one answer, and then you look at the pronunciation guide in the OHL, which I think more broadcasters need to use, but
big time
don't do, which we're not going to get into. But there could be 2 different pronunciations of names somehow. So
yeah. I love that he's from Tecumseh too, Windsor boy. Love it.
Oh, you and the Windsor guys. But so 3 centers go here. There really isn't a defenseman ranked until, again, the list I'm using: Peter Green, David Buckman, and again, that's kind of where you look when we're looking at the IceDogs depth chart, where they kind of need to go, because you look at it, you lose a guy like Noah Van Vliet, who I know you were very high on, and on the OHL 60 podcast this week you talked about if the Sudbury Wolves are really serious about going all in, which they end up doing at the deadline, they should have kept Noah Van Vliet, but
yes,
the IceDogs got him, so he's graduating to Sacred Heart, obviously, and you're going to have to make a decision on Andrew Wysick, who would be an overager as well. So realistically, the defensemen you have coming back right now are Jack Brody, Callum Shanowski, Matthew Virgilio, Joey Wasslin, Darcy DeWatcher. So you look, and there's going to be at least 2 to 3 openings on this D-core going into the offseason, and just, they don't have the luxury of seeing a Matthew Schaefer at the top of the draft for them to be able to go after. So that might be something that they look at in the 2nd or 3rd round. They don't have a 2nd-round pick this year, but a move's probably going to be coming at some point. Some teams may be trying to unload some guys, but when you have so many overagers, you're going to make some decisions as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a funny feeling it'll be I guess a buyer. I guess it'd be a buyer's market, kind of. I don't know. Whatever the best way. I think it's going to be a fire sale in the Eastern Conference next year. I guess that's the best way to put it. With the amount of teams that went in to try and win a championship this year, I mean, I can count 5 just off the top of my head. You're thinking of Brampton. You're thinking of Kingston, Barrie, Sudbury for some reason. Brantford, I wouldn't say they went all in. They got Tommy Budnick. They sent Noah Roberts for 4 picks, which kind of they robbed Sudbury on that one. You think of the Oshawa Generals, who are going to have to sell because their pick cupboard is empty. It is empty. So there are going to be a lot of players available next year, specifically in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, if you don't get a high-end defenseman here on day one of the priority selection, there's really no reason to panic. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to get those guys via trade if you choose to go that route, because a lot of teams are going to have to sell a lot in order to try to get back to relevancy and back to contention in the coming years.
Colin Ward's excited about this.
Oh, yeah. He's fired up. Langton. Good old Langton. Wingding. Brenner Lamans. Yeah, we kind of thought, Brantford, maybe he'll go 20th, but not a chance in heck he would have been available for that. The 6 foot, 191, he's a farmer. Toronto Red Wings, U16. He's going to be a really good player, and to be honest, this is just kind of a start of things for guys around the Norfolk Brant area, because next year's Brantford 99ers team is going to be very, very good, and there's going to be a lot of players that are available from that team, including the younger brother of Merrick Van Acker, who is on fire, played a year up this year.
Oh boy!
So that'll be fun. But he's those Langton guys. They're farmers. All those Norfolk guys, Brant Haldeman, Norfolk. They're all farmers. They like to put in the work in the off season, and for Sarnia, that's a good pick. They've got a nice young core there, and they've got Beckham Edwards there. They've got Diorio there. They're building something really good in Sarnia. We'll see if they have an identity this year, because I didn't think they had much of one last year, and we didn't really know going into the year what Sarnia was going to be. Now they're going to be a high offensive, talented team over the next couple of years, and I'm excited for it. I love going to that building. That building's awesome when it's loud, but that's a nice player to get in round 1 if you're Sarnia.
Yeah, they definitely need a kind of a hard-nosed player like that. I think he's going to bring something big to Sarnia that they're desperately in need of in their rebuild, as well as a team that's trying to build back up after going to the West Final a few years ago. We got Max Delisle going to Owen Sound, and here's the big one, Cam Warren, who obviously made some waves at the OHL Cup. He goes 6th overall to the North Bay Battalion. That seems like a steal to be able to get a guy at 6th that had a lot of hype around him as somebody that could end up going in the top 3.
Yeah, and you think about former Toronto Junior Canadians that went later than they probably should have and are making huge impacts in the Ontario Hockey League. And again, this is no favoritism for being on the Bulldogs Audio Network, but Jake O'Brien was the OHL Cup MVP for the Toronto Junior Canadians, and he went 8th to the Brantford Bulldogs, and he just won. He was Rookie of the Year last year, and he's about to be a top 10 pick in the NHL draft. That could be Cameron Warren in a couple of years. We could be talking about this guy being Rookie of the Year and then heading into his draft season as a potential top 10 pick. I think he's got the talent to be able to do that, and he's got one of the best coaches in the league in Ryan Houlihan. That was one of my favorite matchups in the playoffs between the Bulldogs and Battalion, just because of who is coaching both those teams. So Warren, I think this is the best spot he could have gone. I'm excited to watch this kid play under Ryan Houlihan.
Yeah, it's going to be in the Central Division. The IceDogs aren't going to like that as well, because the North Bay Battalion are building something special there. You bring in Cam Warren, you bring in Parker Vaughn, you bring in Shamar Moses as well. Yep. So they're building a good young core there already with the North Bay Battalion after just going to 3 straight Eastern Conference finals. So if you're the IceDogs, that's a team you look at in the next couple of years you might be competing with in the Central Division, because the way the cycles are working, you'd expect teams like Barrie and teams like Brampton to maybe be going through that cycle, and Niagara and North Bay are kind of near the top again once it cycles back through. But yeah, unfortunately for the IceDogs side, I think that's a great pick for North Bay and Cam Warren. For you guys wondering, we're on pick 6. The IceDogs pick at number 10. We will get you that pick as soon as we find out here. Live from the Meridian Centre again, Brandon Caputo and Reece Doumani, thank you for joining us here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Again, thank you to everybody that's tuned in on our Armchair GM Sports Network live stream. I think Reece, we're going to take a quick commercial break before the IceDogs come back on the clock. Sue's just making their pick at number 7. So stay right here. We'll be right back, and we'll have, when we come back from commercial, hopefully we will have the IceDogs pick for you. So stay right here, but right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today. Because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
Did you know that the global pet food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going, any way we can, because we believe. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Colley's Original Sports Bar is your ultimate destination for unbeatable food, drinks, and sports action in Niagara. Whether you're gearing up for a big game, winding down after a day at the office, or just looking for a lively spot to catch up with friends, Colley's has you covered. Their menu is packed with mouth-watering options, from classic pub favorites to unique chef specials, all served alongside a wide selection of craft beers, cocktails, and daily drink deals. With multiple TVs broadcasting the latest sports events, you won't miss a minute of the action, no matter where you sit. Colley's Original Sports Bar, a proud supporter of Niagara IceDogs hockey. Whether you're gearing up for the game or celebrating a big win, Colley's is the place to be before and after every IceDogs matchup. Check out their menu online at colleys.com. Give them a call at 905-684-1771 or check them out on Facebook, X, or Instagram for more information. Located at 223 St. Paul Street in the heart of downtown St. Catharines, just minutes from the Meridian Centre. Open daily Sunday to Thursday till midnight and Friday to Saturday till 2 a.m. for those late night eaters. Colley's, it happens here.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Browdy.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Reece Doumani are back with you, continuing our Night 1 live stream here for the 2025 OHL Draft. The IceDogs are about to be on the clock, so I'm going to start playing the epic music that's going to be playing while I'll slowly turn it up when the IceDogs do get on the clock. Flint just picked with the 8th overall pick. Kingston is about to pick at 9. They're on the clock. And then Niagara will be making their first round selection here coming up shortly. And again, the OHL website, every time a pick is made, I think they have to kind of reset.
This is frustrating. I'm getting fired up here.
Don't get too fired up. You already did enough of that about the Sudbury Wolves on the OHL in 60 this week. But regardless of that, we had a couple picks for Sioux and Flint, all forwards so far. So not a single D, which was pretty much to be expected right now. There weren't many D ranked that high, but we should start to see some here coming in the teens. But I did hear that after the third, it was kind of a crapshoot with this draft. There wasn't like clear-cut, number. These guys are going to be the top 5. These guys are going to be the top 10. Yeah. It was almost like it was almost just who you felt, who you felt would fit in your room. There wasn't like again, we could see from 3 on to maybe 15, these quote-unquote draft experts could be quite wrong with their draft boards.
Well, and that's the thing, and I think that's where your pre-draft interviews really play a role in what player you take, and this obviously is maybe a little bit more relevant as tonight goes on once you get into the 2nd, 3rd round, and then tomorrow morning, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. But those pre-draft interviews is where you really get to know a kid, and all of these kids are talented. There's no question about that. They've got enough skill to play at this level, but are they good guys? Are they good guys off the ice? Do you want them in your locker room? If the answer is yes, then you're going to take that guy over somebody who seems like he's a little bit too arrogant, like he's playing for himself, like you're not really a huge fan of his character, right? That's where those details come into play, where the for sure stars are gone. Now let's try to find the skill guys that can help us, and if they're great guys off the ice, we are more likely to take them than other guys who are available.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's about the fit. Do they fit in the room? Do they fit on the ice? Do they fit what you need as far as an organization, what type of players you're looking for? Alex Kuhlman goes to the Kingston Frontenacs, which is the son of former Toronto Maple Leaf Nikolai Kuhlman. Make you feel really old.
There's a name.
And the Niagara IceDogs are on the clock, so we're going to get their pick here shortly. Should hear it coming up very shortly here. So the IceDogs are on the clock at 10th overall. All forwards have gone so far, technically. 6 centers and 3 wingers, but again, that could all change when they get to their respective teams. But no
Toronto
real change
kids.
there.
Toronto kids are starting to get picked after the first 3 outside of Toronto. The last 6 have come from some GTHL team. We've got the Red Wings, the Titans, Junior Canadians, and the Don Mills Flyers with the last 2 picks.
So last first-round picks for the IceDogs. Brady Watt. We hear the clapping now, so picks should be coming in for the Niagara IceDogs. Brady Wasslin went 4th overall to the IceDogs last year, and then the season before that, the IceDogs selected Ryan Robrick 2nd overall and Ethan Zada 5th overall. So give us a second here.
Building the suspense.
Ryerson Edgar is the newest Niagara IceDogs from the York Simcoe Express with the 10th overall selection in the 2025 OHL draft from Holland Landing, Ontario. Pulling his stats up here. Oh, I guess we'll have to look his stats up.
He 32 games. He's got 60 points, 33 goals, 27 assists. Another center, a guy that's probably gonna end up on the wing in year number 1. That's just the way things go. But for the IceDogs, they've got a nice solid forward group right now. I think we were talking beforehand that a D might be a good option now. Just looking at the future, you might want to get that next stud defenseman for your organization, but. I also think it's tough to ignore a guy that scores 33 goals in 32 games. So for the IceDogs, this guy's got a lot of room to grow. Obviously, 5'10", 157. He's got a full summer to grow and get a little bit stronger coming into training camp in the fall. But for the IceDogs, I think this just makes your forward group that much deeper. It helps you in the dog days of January and February when you start to make the playoff push and. that's post-deadline. So whether you've cleared space for the young guys, whether you've added to kind of help mentor these young guys, I think this is a solid pick for the IceDogs. He's going to be part of the all-name team one day, Ryerson Edgar. I love that name, but I think this pick works out really well. And again, it goes back to character. If he's a good character guy and you want him in the room, then that trumps everything. You can teach him how to play hockey at this level, but you can't teach him to be a good person. So of course we'll find that out when he comes to the Meridian Centre and we meet him for the first time. But solid pick for the IceDogs here at 10.
Yeah, I like it a lot so far. Again, all centers have gone, and even Braden Bennett goes to the Sudbury Wolves at 11th overall, continuing the string of forwards here. And again, solid stats this season, 60 points in 32 games, 33 goals for a York Simcoe team in the OMHA. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but that's the IceDogs pick until the third round. So you want to come on now, you're more than welcome to. All right. We're getting somebody hooked up here, special guest for the show.
You have music for that?
I do not have an entrance music for the head coach, but unfortunately, I do have his graphic, though. So
hey, there we go.
We're pleased to welcome the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Mr. Ben Boudreau, to the episode and to the live stream. Coach, thanks for coming on. I know it's bittersweet because you don't want the season to end as it did last week, but at the same time, you're going to be adding another name to your lineup card here with Ryerson Edgar, and we're going to learn more about that young man as we go forward, and you'll probably meet him tomorrow. But again, does a day like this excite you from a coaching perspective for when you're adding some young guys to your junior hockey team?
Well, 100%. And even before we get to the hockey portion, I was really thinking you guys were going to introduce me.
Oh, John Cena?
John Cena walk-in music here. Sorry, I pulled that up on my phone.
Brand, that would have been legendary.
I thought you guys were teeing it up. I thought you guys were going to tee that one up.
So I actually, next year I'll make sure I have some entrance music for you.
Sorry, we just ended up, completing our first-round pick for next year, which is really exciting. I just got a text from a really trusted family friend who's also general manager in the Junior A Loop, and he said, great kid, great family, and unreal pick at 10. So, you watch the OHL Cup, you see a lot of things, but the biggest attribute to this guy that I think is going to add to the lineup is the fact that he shoots right. Having never met him, never spoke to him yet, which is always something that you look forward to. But just the fact that I think he had 33 goals in 32 games, he's going to go in great. But you look at the left side, Kevin He and Ryan Rubrick. I mean, those guys are pretty sure on their left side. So to be able to get somebody that shoots right and can complement that right side is, I just think, is a really, really big pick from the management here to add to the organization.
Yeah, when you talk about centermen, a lot of organizations will kind of push them to the wing and, let's ease you into the league. Are you kind of under that same philosophy, or are you, if you played center, we're going to throw you right into the fire?
Well, I mean, it's tough until you get to know everybody, but I mean, it's a lot easier to play the wing at 16 years old than it is to play center. And, there's a lot more defensive responsibilities. I mean, the game you have to worry about so much more, where, a guy like Ryan Rubrick, spent 2 years playing the center, and as a young kid coming in, wanted to go to the wing, and obviously it's stuck, setting 28 goals, 41 goals. I mean, you moved him to the wing, found a position. So, to have versatility, Matthew Paris was a centerman that he ended up pushing to the wing that became a viable centerman, and when you need someone to take faceoffs, they're there. So I think in having that versatility, as a right shot to be able to play both. I mean, you've got, still, when you look at the lineup, you've got Max Creed and Galyanov and Zada and Asadorian and all these guys can still play the middle for next year, and that's before you add any European picks or anything along those lines, right? And see what the market's like for a lot of these other teams too. So, just the fact that to have a versatile forward on the right side, it's whether he plays the middle or on the right side, I think is really important. And then when you look at the power play, I mean, you look at all the top scorers on the power play: Alex Asadorian, Kevin He, Ryan Rubrick, Brady Waz, and Ethan Zada. Oh wait, they all shoot left. And then the only other guys that are forwards, is Matthew Paris, and the versatile. It's tough to run 5 lefties on a power play, and that's something that we had in year one and year two. Even though we finished pretty atop the league. It's great to have that versatility when you can have righties and lefties. So just the fact that he shoots right is a huge addition to this organization. The fact where, his character traits are well known in the hockey community is first and foremost. Before the fact, he can skate, shoot, pass, doesn't matter what he has in his hand. Coming into this organization, this community, we're starved for obviously some great character kids. And I think just based on what I've heard from him so far about him without ever having a conversation, it makes you really excited to meet this young individual.
IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau is with us on the live stream. Again, the IceDogs just picking Ryerson Edgar, center from the York Simcoe Express with the 10th overall pick. The IceDogs will pick again in the 3rd round. Coach, last year was kind of your first process in this. I know you had spoken to us. This has kind of been your first draft process last season. What did you learn from that process that you're going to take with you going into this draft process, as far as getting to know the guys, as far as how it's a long 2 days here, and it's exciting, but again, it's going to be a long time before you get guys on the ice once again. So how do you kind of level yourself at your excitement and know that there's still a lot of work to be done in the off season?
No, I remember, the excitement around Max Creed and Brady Waslin was a surefire, future superstar in this league, and hopefully the NHL as well too. Projected first rounder next year, top 10, obviously. And the excitement of going to draft them and then seeing them on the ice. And I thought Max Creed and Brady Waslin were the 2 standout players in the camp. And you see Brady Waslin set a franchise record for most assists. It's the 3rd year in a row. So a rookie has come in and set a franchise record. And Max Creed, I think he had 11 goals in the first 20-some-odd games, going up to Christmas. Obviously kind of, fell off a bit. But, these 2 16-year-olds came in and had an impact for our organization right away. And, I know we don't have a 3rd-round pick, or we don't pick again until the 3rd round. So that 1st-round pick, if he can even come close to bringing the impact that any rookie here or any first-year player has come over the last 2-3 years and been impactful on a team that should be older, that should be stronger, that should be faster, with a little bit of better insulation for a young guy to come in. It's exciting because the young guys have had impacts, and I think, just based on where we're at as a team, he's going to be given every single chance to have success with us. So, it just matches up with everything that we're thinking right there. He's a great kid. Like I said, the characteristics, just how my phone blew up here within the last 5-10 minutes just based on our pick, makes you very excited to meet him and his family, learn more about him. But as far as hockey, we just ended, but you can't wait to get it going here with, what we have in future.
I was going to say, when does, and obviously when you meet him and start to have those conversations, but the expectations for the summer for a brand new guy that you just drafted, is that immediate as soon as you talk to him to be like, hey, we drafted you for this, we've laid out sort of a plan for you? Is that like within the next week that starts that process?
To be honest, I didn't know who we had until 10 minutes ago, right? And as soon as I knew it, I said, the 2 VIPs in the theater room right now, we got to go give some insight to over there. But, when we finish here, it's, this is a great moment for any kid to get drafted today. That's what they work about. It's the pressure is on them. It's a moment that they should be able to enjoy with their family, their loved ones. There's no question. And then, the excitement comes down, and then you get to kind of roll in and meet everybody and, see what the organization and the people, in the organization facilities. It's a really, really exciting time. So, you want to do step A, then step B, then step C. You don't want to, skip any kind of steps in that process because, again, it's not until late August until training camp starts, and there'll be a million things that happen before that. So, enjoy it right now. Get excited. Can't wait to see, the young kids at rookie camp and see where we're at with everybody. And like I said, take it one step at a time. And, after that, the priority for any young player, whether you're 19, 20, or whether you're 15 entering the league is, how can you get your body in shape to be at the very best once the season rolls around?
And I know you haven't had a lot of time to reflect yet, Coach. Just the season ended last week, but when you look back at what you guys accomplished this year, you talked about playoffs period was the number 1 goal going into the season. You had the development of some of your great young players. Kevin, he got drafted, became your captain. You had Ryan Roberg take a big step. It's going to be all the eyes on him next year, as well as Brady Waslin. Ethan Zott is going to have his name called this June. You have that young nucleus that you're going to have to continue to build around. Obviously, losing some pretty significant overagers in Loshko, Van Vliet, and Flores. But just how excited are you for what's to come for this organization and getting that taste of playoffs? And the fan base and the community was so excited for those 2 games, and you talked about it at length about how proud you are to be from this region, and just in general, as you've had time to kind of reflect, 1, looking back on it, and 2, looking ahead to what's to come.
Yeah, looking back, you can focus on some of the negatives, or you can really highlight a lot of the positives. And there were positives and there were negatives, there's no question. Just before we even get going, the support from the community has been unbelievable. Starting with the mayor, Matt Sisko, just personally, he's always given me words of encouragement, met with me throughout the year just to talk, and he's a season ticket holder fan that's always been watching. And so you have the support of the mayor, the city, the constituents from the businesses downtown. The same thing for me personally. We've had a family hockey school here going into our 43rd year that my dad started in 82. So, everybody that we've met along the way, you see out in the community. I've got young kids in the hockey rink, whether you're picking up at Tim Hortons. People love to talk about the IceDogs, and, the part of the process, so it started last year, was when I took over 15 games into the season, we talked about kind of stripping it down and starting from square one. We did, and we saw us trade away Zachary Lavoie and Sobolev and those guys in order to gain draft picks to get better in my first full season, and we did. We used some of those draft picks to go and acquire Noah Van Vliet and Sean Doherty, and we made some moves to get Jack Browdy, obviously, and so some of the things that the management did in year 1 really paid dividends in year 2. And that's part of the process, is getting these young guys, putting them in a position to have success. And you could see how much Zada and Rubric and Galianov played in year 1 in our struggles, and how successful they were obviously in year 2. And then that boils over into year 3 and then year 4, and that's what happens when you have a young nucleus. And so Galianov, that's turning 18, may be one of the more underrated players. Ethan Zada is a projected 50th overall. Ryan Rubric may be the 2nd overall NHL draft pick, if not the 1st. His ceiling is incredible. Kevin coming back as a 19-year-old, should he not make the NHL, which we all hope he would, but crazier things have happened. You get sent down back to your OHL team. Some of the OAs that we still have, and you got Wysick and Browdy and Virgilio and Chanowski, and you got your European spots available. You keep doing these steps, and that's what progression is. And when you outline a plan, year 1 might be painful, year 2 is going to be better, year 3 is going to be the best, or year 4. That's when everybody is in bloom, and that's when your window that's cyclical a little bit comes in, and you say, now we're in a position to win. Now the young guys that we've molded with the character are going to be in a position to dominate at 18 and 19 years old, before they get into their pro careers here. So, I think we're on track with where we're at on the ice, and going from 12 wins in year 1 of the Dobler ownership into 17 wins in year 2, and now obviously, and then we had 22 before the Christmas break, which was a franchise record, and obviously the tale of 2 seasons, how we only won 7 after that. But yeah, we're taking steps, and I think that's the biggest thing to take recognition of. And amongst those steps came a lot of firsts this year. Was franchise record before Christmas, first time that we swept a northern road trip. We had 2 players, or first time we had somebody drafted, and I think in 6 seasons, Kevin He. We had 2 players signed to NHL contracts. We had, I think, 8 players minimum reach their personal best statistically this year. Flores, Kevin He with points, and Rubric and Zada, and the Virgilio and Browdy, and the list goes on and on for guys. So these are all guys that you're getting back with your nucleus. So it makes it very exciting just to know that you're taking steps, and if you can drown out some of the negativity, the noise that's been made about the off ice. Things are really good to be a Niagara IceDogs as far as the talent pool that we have, and my job is to lead them to the water, and hopefully they end up drinking it.
IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau is with us. Reece will give you the final question for the coach before we let him go.
Yeah, you mentioned if Kevin He's back, if he doesn't make the NHL, obviously we want to see these kids succeed. That's essentially at the end of the day the jobs of the coaching staff, front office, is to get these kids to the next level. I know Guelph Storm fans have been frustrated over the last couple of seasons. They lose Poitras to Boston. Luchenko starts in Philadelphia, obviously comes back. But yeah, again, the grand scheme of things is it starts on a day like today where you do develop these guys hoping they get to the next level sooner rather than later. So personally, how much pride do you take in just that part of your gig is to get them to the next level?
Well, it was, it's really emotional when you lose, your last game of the season. And I've only been lucky enough in my professional career to win the last game of the season once with the championships. And so, when you have to say goodbyes, it's really tough. But it's because you build relationships with these kids, the staff members, every single day, going through the grind, the ups and downs, sharing the highs and lows. And, one of those players, Andrei Lashko, came over from the Q, but he's Belarusian. I mean, he's without his mom, his dad, any family members. He's got a girlfriend. The kid is just an unbelievable human being, salt of the earth, and for everything that he gave us, ended up 5th in the OHL in power play goals. I mean, we wouldn't be the team we were without him, and we knew that Seattle was in the building all year. We met with their guys, and I had no idea if he was going to sign, but knowing the difference between signing his NHL contract because his window was closing or, forcing the inevitable, what do you do? The NCAA, he never signed an option with, and so he's looking at, is my time in North America done because he didn't sign his NHL contract, or is he going back home to Belarus and the unknown? And, our season ends up, losing out in the first round, and he still has no indication what he wants to do. So, a very heartfelt, hey, we're going to follow you. We love and support you, only to find out the next day that he signed his first NHL contract for 3 years. And just knowing what it means to him and his girlfriend, his family, after being through the battle, those are moments you can't replace. And I mean, I shed a tear, to be honest. I'm not trying to make it seem anything more than it is, but you're happy for the kids because you know what's on the table, and you know how they're, at least their journey is going to start, and it's a great head start in life. And, working with Dan Pye, Stanley Cup winner, every single day, you see how the journey starts, and then it's up to them to take it. But everywhere you go, you say, hey, that's a Stanley Cup winner and Dan Pye. And no matter where that kid, Lashko, or, Kevin Key, it doesn't matter. They're not going to take those accomplishments away from them. And, that's their next step, is to make it to the NHL. But to get them to that place, to sign the contract, I mean, those two stories with Kevin and Andre this year are probably some of the more special ones, and it's because we watched Kevin get drafted and first one, and it's going to be the same thing with Ethan Zada, to see him drafted 5th overall and go from the watch list at the start of the year to all of a sudden he could possibly be a late first rounder is just an incredible thing, and you share these stories with these kids, so it's really exciting, to see the possibilities of what could be. Anybody that donned a Niagara IceDogs jersey, and there's a lot of those stories. So for me, I take a lot of pride in seeing the personal achievements, and we've said team success will bring individual success, and we had a successful team this year on the ice, so it's good to see some of those individual rewards get passed on to the kids.
Yeah, and you talked about breaking the glass ceiling with Kevin He, and you guys are able to do that, now just spiraling, here, snowball effect with Robrick and Zada, Wasslin, Crete maybe as well. So with that, IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau. Ben, thanks so much for the time, not only today for the great insight, but all season long, coming out after, some tough games and some great moments. It was, an interesting season to say the least, but really appreciate your time, your honesty, and you were always one to there you go, there's your John Cena exit
love it,
exit music as well. But Coach, thanks a lot, and final words, what's on the docket to see this off-season? Golf, or what are you going to be doing with the kids?
To be honest, the Masters is on right now, so it's great watching it from the couch, but I don't like being stagnant. I want to stay involved in the game as much as possible. I'm working for a company that's got me going to 4 different places in the States: Denver, Salt Lake, Nashville, Virginia Beach, do some presentations on hockey. I'm headlining as a speaker conference for a local real estate company, Revel, in a couple Tuesdays. I'm doing a Brock presentation with TJ over there. So we got hockey schools lined up. It's when the one thing is, it's like, oh, do you want to rest? No, I am born to be involved in hockey. And they said, I remember being asked a question, well, you want to get to the NHL, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't care if I'm a janitor. I just wanted to get there at one point. And, it's because feel extremely lucky to be fortunate to do what I do for a living, but it's not because it's something that you're being forced to. This is a passion, and when you work like this in the industry, I mean, you never consider it a day of work. I'm not sure. What's that saying? Come on, help me out. When you never consider
you never work a day in your life.
If you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life.
That's it. That's what. Hey, those good wingers right there. I appreciate you guys helping me out.
You.
But that's what I got lined up. But I'm not gonna lie, I got some golf plans there too. Caputo. Right on.
The journey never stops, and the fire's always burning. So, Coach, thanks so much. Enjoy the summer, and look forward to seeing this team back on the ice in the fall.
You're telling me. Appreciate having me.
That was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau here with us on the OHL Draft live stream. Again, very exciting times for the Niagara IceDogs. Let's take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back, and we're going to get more reaction as we go forward here on the Draft Show. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. We'll be right back after this.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today, 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference. Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today. Because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training, and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
The great guys over at Hockey Stick Man are sponsoring this video. If you play hockey but are sick of paying upwards of $400 for top-end sticks, check these guys out. There's seriously no better place to shop. The guys are fun, easy, and offer a stress-free experience from start to finish. They get pro stock sticks from major junior teams right up to the NHL teams and sell them for half the price that the same stick would sell for at a retail store. To further support their mission of saving hockey families money, they offer closeout options, which entail taking last year's retail models and blowing them out for less than wholesale prices. It's literally the best prices on the internet for their sticks. And the best sticks of all may be their Pro Blackout series, which provide a top-end stick with no graphics and literally less than half the price of a branded top-end retail model. It's always been their best-selling stick despite super cool pro stock options. It's a no-brainer to shop with these guys, and trust me, they are beauties. Head over to hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm and get $15 off your first order. That's hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm to get an additional $15 off your first order when you sign up on their website. Check out our friends at Hockey Stick Man.
This is Kevin Heath. This is Brady Waslin. This is Ethan Zadek.
This is Andre Loshko.
It's Owen Flores. This is the Dog Pound Podcast.
The official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to our Niagara IceDogs OHL Draft live stream right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Reece Doumani and Brandon Caputo are back with you, continuing to break down and react to the first round of the OHL Priority Selection, which has very much slowed down, Reece, that we were talking about in the break. Before we did hit the break, though, I want to get your thoughts, quick thoughts, from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau is with us for about 10 minutes there. We are on pick number 20, which is your Brantford Bulldogs, so I know you're kind of invested in that. But regardless, great thoughts there from the head coach about this season. Very honest thoughts about, making sure that they bring the right people in here to continue to change the culture in a positive direction through the ups and the downs that were this season, and knowing that he'll be here next season as well. Just seems like he's excited, even though he knows it's going to be a little bit before he gets the players on the ice. Yeah,
you know what? This organization just needed the stability behind the bench. You start with Daniel Fitzgerald. He's moved out in the same season. You get an interim coach in. Then you get Ryan Kuwabara, who is here for, I don't know, maybe a little over a year, just under a year, however long it was. And then you get Ben in, and it's like, okay, we got to see some stability here with the head coach and the entire coaching staff. And it sounds like the IceDogs have that now. This is, I guess you could call it a year and a half. We're close enough to that. But a year and a half for Ben behind the bench. And, the process starts with him. Once you've got your guy behind the bench, and it sounds like he's the guy, that's when you can start to develop the systems on the ice and the culture in the room, and start setting all your goals for what you want this season to be, or whatever season it might be. So to get that stability behind the bench, that's another thing Colin and I talked about, was the IceDogs need to get to the playoffs, and they need stability behind the bench. We can't see another coaching change this year from the Niagara IceDogs, and we didn't get one. And that, along with a very quiet deadline, that was another priority that we looked at for this franchise.
No, it definitely was, and stability. You keep talking about stability with the organization from top to bottom. That's a major thing that the IceDogs had to overcome. Character is also something that the IceDogs are continuing to look for. Hopefully, Ryerson Edgar can add a little bit to the room as well in that sense. And again, when there are great older players that are leaving that locker room, it's hard to kind of know how you're going to replace those guys. He mentioned Loshko and why their power play went from 10% to about 23% this year, what Van Vliet brought on the back end, and obviously Flores being their most valuable player most of the season. Those guys are hard to replace, and the IceDogs are going to, you mentioned it's not time to panic yet, but you talk about 3 to 4 things that need to happen in the offseason to make this team a competitive team, so that they're not just kind of spinning the wheels and not really going anywhere. You want to see them build the process next year, and then who knows with 2027 on the horizon, if they're going to be battling the Kitchener Rangers to host the Memorial Cup. So a lot of things on the horizon. The IceDogs need to continue to keep their mind straight and continue to know that there's a long-term process here, but they need to do the right things to put this young nucleus and head coach Ben Boudreau in the right position to succeed.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and I hope all the fans out there, whether you're listening to us, whether you live, whether you listen to us tomorrow or a week from now, remember that these are 16-year-olds. They are not going to score 50 goals next season. I can almost guarantee that. You are right, Brandon. There is a process that's involved in getting these players to a high level where you're ready to compete for a championship. And when you look at the group specifically for these guys, they'll be coming in as 16-year-olds. Ryerson Edgar, he's not scoring 50 goals this year. I can tell you that right now. If anybody wants the next IceDogs stud to score 50 goals in his rookie season, you're watching the wrong league, because that does not happen. So let's have some real expectations here. You guys have the group that are in place in Robrick, and if he is back, and not with the Winnipeg Jets, with Zada, with Wasselin, with Crete, this whole group they're developing for a bigger reason, and it's not to win a championship every single year. It's to develop the right way to get to a championship. You can score as many goals as you want, but if you're not doing it correctly, and you're not doing it in a way that advances you to the National Hockey League, then there are bigger issues than not winning championships, and the process means just as much as when you finally win it all. So I think that's what a lot of people have to remember, is these guys are not going to be studs on day one. They need time to be able to develop at this level. I have no doubt in my mind that Ryerson Edgar could be a really good player in this league one day, but it's going to take a couple of years. And I hope people remember that out there, that these guys are not stepping on the ice to score 50 goals in their first year. 20, I think, is in Rookie of the Year status. But let's lower expectations and understand that the process is in place to get these guys where they will be superstars and to get this team to a championship.
Putting that into perspective, Ryan Robrick had the best rookie season the IceDogs have ever had as a 16-year-old. He scored 28 goals. And that was a fantastic season as a 16-year-old.
And it didn't win him Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake O'Brien's kind of a stud, but Robrick was there along with him. Like, numbers don't guarantee success. It's the process that really rounds a player out. It's not all the numbers. And I hope, again, if you look at scouting reports or whatever you do, there are great guys out there that put these out. There are other guys that just look at numbers. So there's a huge difference, and the process is a big part of it.
Especially when you're drafting kids at 16.
Yeah.
I think some people, especially the casual OHL fans or CHL fans, they try to compare it to the NHL draft, and it's just not fair because you cannot compare guys being drafted to the OHL draft as opposed to being drafted to pro hockey. It's a completely different process. Things can definitely change. They're in the development years where they're continuing to grow as humans, you know what I mean? From 16 to 19, 20, like they're still molding of young minds and young bodies. So it's definitely a little bit different than what you'd see at the National Hockey League level. And even now, the unrealistic expectations of those guys coming out, you know, the Celebranis, the Bedards, everybody's expecting to put on up 100 points in their rookie year, and that's just not possible. And same thing at the OHL level. These guys are making a big jump from minor hockey, and once they come in as a 16-year-old, they're playing against guys that might be 20 or 21 years old. The Noah Van Vliet's of the league. That you know, it's going to be an adjustment period, and like you said, even for any of these first-round picks taken, it's going to take some time. Yeah, like these are first-line guys that are headed for the fourth line in their rookie season in the Ontario Hockey League. And again, you get those few and far between, the McDavids, the Bedards. What McKenna's doing in the WHL right now is unbelievable. But they're going from being their best players to, you know, maybe they're the 10th best forward on their OHL club. They're not the best player anymore. So that's an adjustment on its own. And some guys, you know, make that transition a little bit easier than others do. You know, you're used to being the top guy for the last 6 years since, I don't know, are we allowed to still call it Pee-wee, or is it all that U number crap now? I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. We'll just say U7.
Yeah, like, I'm still going to say Pee-wee or Tyke or whatever the heck it's called. Like, they're used to being their top player, and now they're not going to be. So that's an adjustment on its own. And again, some guys take it well. They understand that there's a bigger picture here, and that to get to the NHL, you're going to have to play some shifts on the fourth line. That's just part of it. I'm sure McDavid did it at one point, probably only for one shift, and then they realized, no, this guy's too good. But yeah, it's that's the fun of it, though. That's what we enjoy most about this league. As much as we like to see Nick Lardis score 71 or Michael Misa destroying records in Saginaw, there's another aspect of seeing 15-year-olds turn 16, come into camp, and see their whole rookie year and how they progress throughout the year. That's a big part of why I do this and cover the Ontario Hockey League. You don't get that in the NHL. You do, but you don't. But here, this is one of my favorite parts of the year, and is seeing these rookies come in, where they start and where they finish. And you got to see it firsthand with Wasselin and Crete. Like, they grew up this year in St. Catharines.
Yeah, and Wasselin played everywhere from the first line to the third line this year, and he was a 4th overall pick and was touted as the most dynamic offensive player in the OHL draft, and kind of had to level his expectations. He was able to break the IceDogs rookie assist record this season, and again, the IceDogs have had a couple strings years of breaking rookie record. That doesn't happen every single year. They had it with Kevin He tying Akil Thomas, then you had Ryan Robrick just smashing all the records, and then Wasselin with the assist record, so 3 straight years. But that's not something you see every single year, and everybody has to kind of level their expectations. But it's exciting to know that these guys are coming in, and it's going to be, you continue that development with those young players from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. And again, whether things change with the NCAA agreement where players leave a little bit earlier, maybe not stay till the overage year. This is what junior hockey is all about, and what especially the first day of the OHL Priority Selection is all about. As we look at it, Reece, we're almost at the end of the first round here, and there's been a few defensemen taken here.
I believe 3.
Brampton took one at 14, Peter Green. Then we had Matthew Henderson going to Kingston at 17. And then most recently with your Brantford Bulldogs taking David Buckman from the Ottawa Valley Titans, which is the exact same team that first overall pick Caden McGregor played for as well. So Ottawa Valley, a solid team, it looks like this season with top-end prospects. But 3 defensemen in the first round. We'll see what London does with their last pick. But it looks like unless London takes one, it's only 3 defensemen.
Do you think teams value scoring?
Maybe.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, you know what? And I mean, the NHL's the same way. Oh, we want goals up, so let's make goalies' pads smaller. Let's... they haven't made the nets bigger in a while, but they're always finding ways to increase scoring, and the Ontario Hockey League, there's wanting to score as many goals as possible to try and outscore your opponents, which some teams can do that, and they have done it in the past. But, oh my God. Sorry for that pause, ladies and gentlemen. We just got a... Ben Boudreau came in and said something that we just got to... we'll move past it. Brandon's laughing his butt off right now. By the way... Oh, no, that's Kitchener's pick. Oh, my God, I can't... Where was I? Oh, my God. So...
only 3 defensemen in the first round.
Yeah, and talking about scoring, the Saginaw Spirit this year, they could score a ton of goals, but they had a lot of issues keeping the puck out of their net, and that was one of the reasons why they are no longer in the OHL playoffs. They were knocked by the Erie Otters in 5 games. Just because they were a team that could score. They had a ton of offensive talent, but they had issues keeping the puck out of their net. And now injuries weren't helpful with that. I know Caputo struggled mightily in that opening round against Erie, but you can't really outscore your opponents for 68 games and then the playoffs. Again, you get those special teams that can. Think of the 05 London Knights. They could do whatever they wanted to and just win. It really didn't make a difference what the other team did. But, you have to have everything to be successful. This year, you think of the run the London Knights went on. They had goaltending. Medvedev and Elliott were phenomenal. You look at the defense. Sam Dickinson was an absolute stud for the London Knights this year. Up front, I mean, I think we'd be here all night if we went on about who can score for the London Knights, which, by the way, they took a center. So 3D officially taken in round number 1. But you got to have that nice mix, and I think it obviously depends on the draft, but this year it was, we're going to focus on scoring, and we're going to look at the most highly offensive players available. And again, you get past the first 5, that's what it was.
It was a crapshoot.
Yeah, you look at, again, character has to be number 1. If you don't prioritize character, I don't know what the heck you're doing. Because you can teach hockey. You can't teach character. So that was a big thing in round number 1 is teams want scoring. They want young guys that can find the back of the net to help round out their offense throughout the season. Because, again, they're more than likely 4th or 3rd liners to begin their OHL careers, and that's where your depth scoring comes from. So that was a big priority as we saw it here for round number 1 of the OHL Priority Selection.
Yeah, great point, Reece. And we are at the end of the first round. The IceDogs do not pick here in the second round. They do pick later in the third round. And that will end tonight before getting back here for rounds 4 through 15, Reece. Before I get to a quick trivia question for you, again, the process is a long one. You never see 15 rounds in most leagues drafted. No. And again, some of these players may never play for the organization, but it's good to have depth in the organization in the pipeline in case things do happen with injuries or what have you. You never know when you might need one of those late round picks, and we've seen with every organization has a hidden gem that they end up taking and signing and things like that. But when you're drafting 15 rounds for these young players, it's just, once you're getting into those late rounds, you're just trying to look for something you can grasp onto as to say, okay, we can handle with this, and then we'll try to build the rest of it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, it's, you start, the reason probably round 8, I would say, round 8 through 15 is when, it starts to speed up, and you start to see the draft really pick up, and it ends very quickly, but you're going to hate me for this, but Pavel Datsyuk was a 6th-round pick. Henrik Zetterberg was a 7th-round pick. Those late picks can have an impact. And for the IceDogs, I mean, injuries in goal, you need to find everybody to play net. That's kind of been something you've been looking for over the last couple of seasons. And, you never know. You just never know. And I think that's the big thing for all of these kids out there. No matter what round you get taken in, you still have a chance to make this team. You might not be guaranteed a spot in year 1 or year 2, but if you show up to year 3, with a purpose and you start to stand out, you do have a chance. There's a reason they take you. There is, deep down, whether you're a 15th round pick or a 1st round pick, there is a reason you are taken. It might take you a little bit longer, but if you stick to the process and you understand what's best for you and the organization, you'll be fine.
Everyone shows up in August with the same training camp jersey, with the same goal. At rookie camp, nobody's given a crown or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I loved what some teams have done around the Ontario Hockey League is nobody even touches the dressing room until the roster is announced. Well, training camp is over is a better way to put it. You have the community rooms, like here at the Meridian Centre where the visiting team goes. You've got those community rooms. And teams put every player, whether you're back for your 5th in OA year or you're coming in as a rookie, all of you start in the same spot. You're in that visiting dressing room. You have to earn your spot to see that IceDogs logo on the floor or to see the Brampton Steelheads logo on the roof. Whatever the case might be, you have to earn your stall in that home locker room. And I think that's a big way to help players understand that this isn't a right to play in the OHL. It's a privilege. And you have to earn that through hard work and training camps. So just to see a few teams that started doing that last year was awesome. I hope the IceDogs do that as well, because that would be a really cool idea. But it makes you earn that spot. It means that nothing is handed out. Everything is given once you put the work in.
Yeah, and everybody shows up with an even playing field for the most part going into training camp when the roster comes out. Here's my question for you, Reece. Have the IceDogs ever picked 10th overall in the OHL Priority Selection?
Am I allowed to look at my sheet?
No. You can look after.
This is year 16 or 17?
Have the IceDogs picked 10th overall in their history?
I'm going to say no.
You would be correct. They have never picked 10th overall in the OHL Priority Selection, which is quite the trivia question here. The IceDogs hadn't even picked above 2 up until 2020 with Panofemis.
Yep.
Again, have doing great things in his OA year. Committed to Notre Dame.
Yep.
Great kid. Great family. Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I know as a Michigan guy that kind of hurts you a little bit, but regardless of that, the IceDogs have never picked 10th overall in their draft history. And you talked about doesn't matter where you're picked, you could make this team. Some guys drafted later rounds that are currently signed by the Niagara IceDogs. Rafik Dayanov, a 13th round pick back in 2023. Finn Moffitt, a goaltender, 10th round pick in 2023. Darcy DeWatcher, a 9th round pick in 2023. Eric He had played a few games as well, an 8th round pick in 2023. So there's a possibility that doesn't matter that you're a first or second or you're drafted on day 1 and not day 2.
Yep.
Anything can happen, and you put in the work and you continue to show that you're worthy of being a valuable asset to the team, and those late round picks can become great stories.
Yeah, they really can. That's that's where you get the kids that and it's kind of obvious that you hear about this, but the stories where, I didn't really think I had a chance to make it. And with the NCAA, I think it's a little bit easier to commit to the OHL and not kind of be on the fence. But I think that you said it, everybody starts with the same training camp jersey at the beginning of fall. You obviously the Robricks and the Hees and the Wasslins and the Creets, they've got their spots. You understand that, but you have the crop of players that aren't coming back, whether it be for pro reasons, whether it be for college reasons. So, there's at least 3 spots with 3 OAs graduating. You have to at least start there, and then you never know. But, yeah, you have to understand that you're not going to be the be-all, end-all on day one. It's never going to work out that way in professional sports. Rarely does it happen, I should say. It does happen, but very, very, very rarely. So, if you don't make the team this year, it's not the end of the world. Go play Junior B, go play Junior A, Junior C, whatever the case might be. Anyone's watching. Something that I learned growing up, I didn't play hockey at a high level, but I played baseball at a high level, and you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching, whether it's somebody from the team that drafted you, getting an update to see if you're progressing well, whether it's a school coming to look at you, whether it's another OHL team that's interested in trading for you. You never know who's watching. So if you're drafted in the 15th round or the 12th round or 8th round, come into training camp thinking you're going to make the team and working to make the team. If you don't, go make an impression somewhere else. And you might make an impression on that team that drafted you so you have a spot next year. You never know who's watching you.
No, you never do. And again, that's why you go through a draft process, the interviews. Everything you do counts. And we've got to the second round here.
Out of St. Catharines native.
Alexander Forrest to the Kitchener Rangers, a pick they got from the Peterborough Pete. St. Catharines, Ontario native, Oakville Rangers U16 program, right defenseman.
I believe this is going to be unfortunate for me to say, I think he just helped the Falcons eliminate my Brantford Titans.
Well, that would be great.
Yeah. They've had a couple of guys that they've had to bring up from minor hockey to help them out. I wonder if he is one of them. Let me just pull up. He's got 4 games played.
He's on the squad.
That's him.
St. Catharines Falcons.
He played 1 game in the regular season, got 2 PIMs, love it. And then he's got 1 assist through 4 games in the playoffs so far this year with the Falcons, and they're off to play Fort Erie in the Eastern Conference Finals. But he was the top pairing defenseman for the St. Catharines Falcons, both at least in Game 2 and Game 4 in that series against the Brantford Titans. So he is headed to Kitchener. The Kitchener Rangers, I think they've got themselves a good one there. That could be a nice story. Him playing Junior B, having a successful run with the Falcons, and then you're off to the OHL next year.
That's our first Niagara native taken with the first pick in the second round, right defenseman Alex Forrest. Congratulations to him. The IceDogs next pick is not till the 3rd round. They pick with the 49th overall pick, in a pick that was originally the North Bay Battalion. The IceDogs will pick at 49. Right now we're at number 24. And again, after that ends, we'll look to hopefully bring on Director of Scouting Adam Henrich and CFGM West Consorti can join us. Assistant Coach Dan Paye is now walking around the room, taking a look, enjoying the process. Former Guelph Storm draft pick, misses the in-person draft, Reece. That's always exciting, right?
Yeah. It sucks the NHL is getting rid of that too. At the Sphere, I mean, Vegas is Vegas. It is what it is. I mean, the Sphere was cool, but I think being in an arena, and I was at the draft in Buffalo when Austin Matthews was taken by the Leafs, and there were way too many Toronto Maple Leaf fans there.
It was brutal.
And the Red Wings famously traded away Pavel Datsyuk to the Arizona Coyotes, and they drafted Dennis Cholowski, and you see where he is now. But, I miss it. You know what? The QMJHL does a really nice job that they still have that, and I wish the OHL would get that. Really. Was that for Cholowski or Datsyuk?
Yeah. No, that was for Cholowski.
Okay, all right, cool. That was Alex Nylander, right, for Buffalo, I think, that year? Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I deserve that one too. Hey, former great Mississauga Steelhead, though, Alex Nylander.
Yes.
Just didn't pan out at the NHL level.
No, it was hilarious. I still remember that draft because my brother's a Sabres fan, and he started chirping all the Leaf fans. We got Williams' brother. I go, why are you chirping? And again, he was 18 at the time. We didn't know if he was going to be a star or not, but I go, Kane, this guy could suck. Like, why are you, who cares? Like, anyone realistically couldn't pan out, or they could become superstars. You just don't know. And that's the fun of watching rookies play, is you have no idea what's going to happen.
Full disclosure, if I didn't have my glasses on, I would have thought the Guelph Storm just selected Mark Perry, their color commentator.
Man, he's going to be all over that. Man, our boy Mark's going to be all over that.
Look at Mark.
Pape? I think we're going Pape.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Pape or Pape. But regardless, it almost looked, he went to the Guelph Storm, looked almost like Mark Perry. But
that'd be hilarious.
From the Pittsburgh Penguins Elite 15, so we got another American program there.
Yeah. Second American taken. And that's interesting because where the USHL is right now and the U.S. National Team Development Program, they're kind of on edge right now. We don't really know what's happening because there's been interest from Youngstown and Muskegon to come over to the Ontario Hockey League. So, the American market is interesting right now. Are some guys committed to the program? Are some guys committed to coming here to the OHL? We don't know. And that's the interesting thing about the NCAA agreement is we will more than likely see more Americans come over for a couple of years, then they'll head off to their school. But Pittsburgh Penguins Elite, that's back-to-back drafts. We've seen second-round picks come from Pittsburgh. Nick Rossetto, a Pittsburgh Penguins player last year.
I wonder what team he went to.
Brantford, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
But, man, his was weird. So he's from the Sioux, goes to play in Pittsburgh.
That's quite the drive.
And now he's in Brantford. So he's kind of been everywhere.
Yeah, he's got quite the miles on him already. But if you missed it, IceDogs take Ryerson Edgar with the 10th overall selection in the 2025 OHL Priority Selection, the Holland Landing, Ontario native from the York Simcoe Express, who had a great season over there with 60 points in 32 games, including 33 goals. 5'10" center, OMHA was the league there. Reece, I think we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back, and we'll continue to wait for the IceDogs to pick with their third-round selection, and then try to get you a couple more guests here before we sign off. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Right back after this.
Celebrating a birthday, wedding, graduation, or just watching the big game, Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano is there to satisfy your pizza needs. Serving handmade Italian pizzas created with the freshest top quality ingredients, loaded subs, and their famous chicken wings. Platinum Award recipients of Community Votes Niagara for Best Pizza and Wings in all of the Niagara region 3 years running. Open 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week from their brand new location at 7156 Drummond Road in Niagara Falls. All payment options accepted to fit your convenience. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery. Place your order today at 905-374-4400 or check out their online menu for the best quality pizza and wing combos you'll find in Niagara at carmine'spizzeria.ca. You've tried the rest, why not try the best? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, proudly serving the Niagara community since 2013.
Fourth Wall is the official merchandise supplier of the Armchair GM Sports Network. Our user-friendly site is print to order with no minimum items or inventory needed, shipped right to your doorstep safely and efficiently from their North American warehouse. All of our logos are available to supporters, listeners, and viewers can have the best variety available to them for their swag preferences. All items are priced as low as possible, allowing everybody who wants to support our business with the opportunity to do so, receiving quality and comfortable products in return. Shop today at fourthwall.com with the direct link to our Armchair merch store in the description of all episodes and in the bio of all of our social media accounts. Become an Armchair GM today with Fourth Wall.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference.
The great guys over at Hockey Stick Man are sponsoring this video. If you play hockey but are sick of paying upwards of $400 for top-end sticks, check these guys out. There is seriously no better place to shop. The guys are fun, easy, and offer a stress-free experience from start to finish. They get pro stock sticks from major junior teams right up to the NHL teams and sell them for half the price that the same stick would sell for at a retail store. To further support their mission of saving hockey families money, they offer closeout options, which entail taking last year's retail models and blowing them out for less than wholesale prices. It's literally the best prices on the internet for their sticks. And the best sticks of all may be their Pro Blackout series, which provide a top-end stick with no graphics and literally less than half the price of a branded top-end retail model. It's always been their best-selling stick despite super cool pro stock options. It's a no-brainer to shop with these guys, and trust me, they are beauties. Head over to hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm and get $15 off your first order. That's hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm to get an additional $15 off your first order when you sign up on their website. Check out our friends at Hockey Stick Man.
This is Alex Asadorian. Hey, it's Ryan Roberk.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Browdy, and this is the
Dog Pound Podcast.
The official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to the Dog Pound Podcast and our Niagara IceDogs 2025 OHL Draft live stream for Night 1, reacting to rounds 1 through 3. The IceDogs, no second-round pick here as we continue to move along. They do pick in the third round, 49th overall here, and we're still awaiting a couple of special guests before we sign off. Brandon Caputo and special guest co-host Reece Doumani from the OHL 60 podcast and the Dogcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network joining us tonight as a bullpen relief option for Cam that was not able to join us tonight. But thank you to everybody that's tuned in on our live stream and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Listen to quite a long podcast. Might be a two-parter. I might have to make this thing into when I release it on audio, but realistically, a lot of you guys are listening to it the night of. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network for all of our great OHL playoff content that we continue to bring you here moving along. Got the OHL 60 podcast on board. We've got the OHL Overtime episode, and we're doing some great coverage over there with our OHL playoff portion of the network. But we're here continuing to talk about the IceDogs draft, Reece. And again, you look at we're going through the draft history as we continue to wait along here. We're at pick number 28. Finally starting to see some defensemen after only 3 were taken in the first round. We're still waiting for our first goaltender, which we'll definitely update you guys on if we get one of those. But you know, the IceDogs building quite the young core here, Reece, when you look at the last couple years. And when you finish at the bottom of the standings for 3 years, that's going to happen. But you go all the way back to 2020 when they drafted Panofima second overall. A lot of hype on with him, with Ty Nelson coming from that great Toronto Junior Canadiens team. Obviously missing out on his rookie year, and went through an ownership change, and quite a lot of head coaches in his OHL career, but now finding his footing with the Erie Otters in his final OHL season as an OA, committed to Notre Dame. So Pano Femus there. 2021. Obviously, that was the year the IceDogs didn't have a first-round pick, so you look at 2022 and the draft of Sam Dickinson, who eventually got traded his rights to the London Knights for some draft picks, and that was the season that the IceDogs made a ton of trades, and no way we could ever make the trade tree for that Sam Dickinson move. But they were able to get Kevin He with the second-round pick, 25th overall, now as their kind of franchise cornerstone player, team captain. Drafted by the Winnipeg Jets. They also drafted Andrew Vermeulen in that draft as well, who's become a pretty good impact player for the Kitchener Rangers. And then the most recent drafts with Ryan Robrick and Ethan Zada, 2 top 5 picks. The compensatory pick they got for Sam Dickinson not reporting, with Ethan Zada at 5th. So really rare to get 2 top 5 picks. The IceDogs had those. Ivan Galyanov, 68th overall, was in that draft as well from 2023. So you look at the nucleus here, Reece, and then you add Brady Wasson, Max Crete, Matthew Humphreys, Charlie Hotlist. These are all guys in the last 3 drafts. You could say half the roster for the Niagara IceDogs have been through the last 3 drafts.
Yeah, you know what? And there's a skill to building a franchise through the draft. You can trade all the players and picks you want until the cows come home, or until you run out of draft picks, which I don't think has ever happened.
Shout out Sudbury.
It could happen. We'll be
if you want more on the Reece Doumani rant about the Sudbury Wolves, you can go tune into this week's OHL podcast.
You know what? I thought they were in the worst shape of every team, but the Oshawa Generals are way worse than they are. Holy crap, the Generals need picks next year when they sell everything. But you can, like I said, there's a skill to trying to build through the draft. You obviously have to be good in every aspect. You have to be good at drafting. You have to be good at trading. You have to be good at signing free agents. It's kind of a nice mix together. When you're able to do all of those things well is when you can really see a winning franchise come together. But you got to start with the draft, because those are guaranteed players that you'll have the rights to. If they don't commit, it's a different story. You trade them away, try to get something for them. But to get players to commit, and for the IceDogs, obviously Sam Dickinson, it's unfortunate that he had to be moved on to London. But other than that, I don't really think there's been that many issues getting guys to come here. I can think of maybe one in the last 7 or 8 years. Stephen Halliday was one that the IceDogs had taken. I think that was the 2018 draft. Went to Colin Ward's favorite, the Ohio State University.
Oh, great. We're going to hear about that one.
Is in the Ottawa Senators organization right now. But
there's not many.
They haven't had really that many issues. And that's one of the things that I look on social media. It's like, they've had a history of guys not coming, so Sam Dickinson's not really a surprise. I'm like, who?
I look at 2009 Lucas Lessio as a guy. He played in the NHL. But he ended up being a guy that didn't report. You look at a guy like Logan Brown, but that was just kind of a flyer.
Yep.
A guy that ended up playing for the Ottawa Senators, didn't really pan out at the NHL level. Had a lot of hype around him.
Yep.
Ended up going the NCAA route. But those are the kind of guys that you could get to commit for the first couple years of their career before they move on to the collegiate route. But again, all that is so murky because we have no idea what that's going to look like next year with the NCAA agreement with the CHL opening up next September. It's going to be very interesting to see with the commitment sort of thing. And Colin Ward right on cue. Attaboy Reece, the Ohio State University. But
Michigan's better, Colin. That one's for you.
But sorry, we're having conversations with ourselves to our listeners here. Regardless of that, it's just I'm interested to see how the dynamic works with this.
Yeah,
especially next year's entry level draft or OHL Priority Selection they call it. Is really going to be a tall tale of our team's going to start to dabble into the American market a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you thought it might start this year, and the development program has a big influence on that. We've only seen 3 Americans go so far, one from New York, one from Illinois, one from Ohio. So that's the thing. Like the USA and Canada really isn't like this. I kind of wish they were, in a sense, but the U.S. is, you stay in the U.S., you're going to be totally fine. You're going to get every opportunity to play U17s, U18s. You're going to get every opportunity to play on the World Junior team, World Championship teams when you get older. If you make the decision to go to the Ontario Hockey League, Western Hockey League, Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League, I think that's the first time I've ever said that correctly the first time, then we're going to make it difficult for you to make these teams. And you've seen certain Americans come to the OHL that get no looks for World Junior teams. It's kind of like Team Canada this year. There's certain guys that's like, no wonder Canada lost so early in the World Juniors. They didn't take this guy. They didn't take that guy. Well, the Americans have that sometimes where, their allegiance, if you're not with the States, then sorry, you're not going to play for us. And that's really interesting. That's got to be a part of the decision as well. But these teams, they have to do a little bit more research, do a little bit more digging. Are there commitments out there? Are you going to leave us after 2 years? What is your situation down the road? And again, that's part of learning about a player off the ice in those interviews pre-draft. That's where that stuff starts to come out. Do you have ambitions to go to NCAA? Do you have ambitions to go to U Sports? One day, obviously, if you don't make the NHL, but that's where those questions have to happen. So there's a little bit of extra digging, a little bit of extra work for the scouts to do as the process goes on throughout this minor midget year, and learning about these guys. What are their intentions? What do they want to do? And the Americans, with the National Team Development Program, I think one of the questions has to be, do you want to play for the World Junior Club, for Team USA one day? Because if you do, you're probably going to hear it from the development program that if you go play in the OHL, well, sorry, you're not going to have a guaranteed spot. You might not even have a guaranteed invite to camp.
Unless you play for an American team like Carey Terrance. Got lucky he plays for the Erie Otters.
Well, and then Sam Hillebrand for the Barrie Colts.
Yeah, that one was...
Oh, okay.
You were lucky that he was able to get through there. But you bring up a good point about the Americans. I'm even looking at it from the standpoint of the Canadians that go and play at the NCAA. You look at Macklin Celebrini. You look at Owen Power, who I was able to catch up with when I covered a game in Buffalo. And I asked him about this question when he was going through that process with the Mississauga Reps. Played in the OHL Cup, played minor hockey here in the Mississauga area, but then committed to the Michigan University. I don't know if you want to say that.
We don't put the in front. No,
you're too good for that.
Yeah.
So he went to Big Blue out there in Michigan, and decided to go play there, and then became the first overall pick in the NHL draft by the Buffalo Sabres. But even Macklin Celebrini going and playing NCAA too as a Canadian, and then being drafted first overall. Cale Makar had a chance to go to the Western Hockey League, decided not to.
We could have seen Adam Fantilli in the OHL.
Yep, his rights were moved
took
around.
Him.
Yeah, his rights went to a few places, I think. But again, those are the kind of guys you look at, and Jack Johnson was just taken, not the former NHL defenseman Jack Johnson, the second coming from the Toronto Marlboros. But back to that point,
6'2", 180, wow.
Owen Power was talking about when he was making that decision that, he didn't have a choice or didn't have as many choices.
Right.
You either had to say you're going to university or you're going to play in the CHL. Now, we'll use Owen Power as an example. Maybe he goes and plays his 16 and 17-year-old seasons in the OHL. He was drafted by Flint in the second round. Probably would have been a lot higher if people knew that he was going to come to the Ontario Hockey League. But I use him as an example as somebody that played his minor hockey or played in the OHL Cup, but then went the NCAA route. Now, guys, maybe we'll see those Owen Powers or Macklin Celebrinis play 16 to 17-year-old seasons in the CHL.
Yeah, we might. And I think that's where the convincing, I think that's the right word. Recruitment becomes a huge part of what you do.
And the London Knights are always so great at that regardless. Again, for all other 19 teams.
Yeah, you have to be able to sell the product that you have. The Niagara IceDogs have to be able to sell the Niagara IceDogs. The Barrie Colts have to be able to sell the Barrie Colts. The London Knights don't really have to sell the London Knights. All their championships kind of do that for themselves, and all of their now NHLers kind of do that. But and again, that's how much do you value 2 years of a guy? I think that's a big part of it, because you can leave after your second year, head to college when you're 18, like everybody else does. And, you can get those odd guys that will maybe take the extra year or two to maybe get their grades a little bit better in high school, so they'll play an extra year or two in the OHL. But, yeah, it's interesting. Like, I'm really intrigued because, and again, we're biased. The OHL is the best development league in the world. The USHL has its perks. As somebody who has watched 2 full games of USHL hockey, I can't really say if it's good or bad hockey or not. I've watched 2 games. They've been kind of close, but if you want to come to the OHL, you're going to get the best development experience possible. And I'm a firm believer in that. I'm going to die on that hill. And it's a tough decision. Your agent's involved, you're involved, your parents are involved. And to be honest with you, your parents can be the worst people to be involved because they're way too involved nowadays. Again, that's another rant for another day. But it's a tough decision, and you really have to think, like, if I only come 2 years, do I even have a spot on an OHL club? That's another thing. Like, it's as much as the OHL club wants you, do they want you for only 2 years? So if you have those intentions, it's like, well, okay, if you're only here for 2 years, we're not picking you.
Depends on where they are in their window.
Exactly. So there's a lot of factors. And again, I'm thankful we're sitting here and not in a draft room somewhere because it's a hard job. It really is. And I don't have any interest to do that because it's a struggle to have to go through all this.
How do you say no to 2 years of a Cale Makar or Macklin Celebrini?
Yeah, well,
no, but that's what I mean. That's right.
You're right.
But you also have to think that there's a shelf life there, and a very short shelf life, as opposed to taking a guy that is bred for the OHL, is going to play 4 or 5 seasons in the OHL.
Yep.
And that's the kind of weighing that you have to think about is, do we want a guy for 4 or 5 years, or do we only want him for 2? I guess, like I mentioned a moment ago, I guess it would really depend on where you are in your cycle or your window. Are you ready to compete for a championship bringing those guys in, or do you want to have them for the start of a rebuild but then know that they're going to be gone once they hit their 3rd season?
Yeah, like if you're any team that didn't make the playoffs this year, you don't have any interest in guys that are sticking around for only 2 years because, maybe one of them might be ready to go for it in a couple of years. I don't think Peterborough will be. I don't think Sarnia will be. Who else didn't make the playoffs? I don't think Ottawa will be. I think they missed out on not moving Mayich and Pinelli. And I don't think Guelph will be. I think Guelph's probably the closest, but I don't think any of those teams are even ready to go for it in 2 years. So they're immediately out of the question. So you're absolutely right, Brandon. That's a great point you brought up, is where are you in your timeline? Are you going for it this year? Then okay, yeah, let's bring in a Cale Makar for 2 years before he goes off to school, for sure. But Peterborough, no, we're probably 3 years away from winning. Makar doesn't work into our system. He doesn't work into our plan. Go enjoy college or get drafted by another club.
Yeah, it's again, double-edged sword with all these new rules and going into uncharted waters for the whole CHL, not just the OHL, but out in the Western Hockey League and in the QMJHL as well. It's going to be a big adjustment period for everybody, but I think it's better for the overall league and for the players to be able to know where they want to go, not just for the next 2 years, but then be able to make decisions to be able to go other places as well.
Yep.
Obviously, there's going to be some teams that are frustrated when a player leaves after 2 or 3 years, gets an offer, and then you kind of have to fill holes that way. But then again, you might be having some players on your roster that you wouldn't have necessarily even had. So
right.
I think it's a positive thing. I've heard some people say it could possibly bring some problems and some negativity where, again, the longevity of a player on your organization might be something that does get affected in a negative way. But we see with the CHL USA Prospect Challenge, we're starting to see a little bit more collaboration there between the U.S. National Development Program and the CHL, now with the NCAA. I think this is something that we've needed for a very, very long time in hockey, and I'm glad we're finally getting it.
Yeah, we did. It doesn't trap players into one thing or the other, because essentially what it was is, if you don't make the pros, enjoy U Sports. Whereas now, if you don't make the pros, okay, go to NCAA, go to U Sports. Logan Thompson, right here at Brock University. I'm not saying U Sports is a bad thing, but he's now an NHLer, Stanley Cup winner with the Vegas Golden Knights. So it's not the end of the road. It's just now you have a different option to go to the States instead of going to a Canadian college. And you know what? Colin and I talk about it a lot of the time is you have to be really, really, really good in order to get a full ride at an NCAA school, because you are considered an international athlete. There's no NIL money. You are an international student, so you pay international student fees. And as much as the OHL scholarship program helps kids maybe get a full ride in Canada, might not necessarily equal a full ride in the United States. So that's a lot of money. And speaking from experience going on recruiting trips for baseball, Division II school in Detroit, Wayne State University, international student, it was $20,000 a semester. And there's no money for in baseball. There might be in hockey at schools like Michigan, Boston, Minnesota, maybe Denver, Bowling Green, whoever it is. But if you're not football or basketball, there's not a ton. That's just the way the States is. If you don't play NCAA basketball, if you don't play NCAA football, there's not a ton of money for you. So that's another factor that you have to look at. And it's obviously expensive to play hockey. These parents have to have money on a certain level with the thousands and thousands of dollars they're paying for their kids to play AAA hockey. But then you start to pay $20,000 a semester, no matter how much the scholarship program costs. It's a lot, especially if they don't make the pros, which is the be-all, end-all to help maybe pay some of that back. So there's a lot of factors. Again, I'm past that. I'm luckily past that. I don't even have to think about that anymore. I was never in that position, but it definitely opens a lot of windows. And you're right, it's good for the league, and I think the players are going to recognize that very quickly. Yeah, a lot of sacrifices have to be made if you want to pursue a career in hockey, especially at the NCAA level, like you mentioned. And there's just not a lot of money if you come from Canada trying to go down there. Full ride scholarships for basketball and football, yes, but when it comes to hockey, you really have to make your choice right and really weigh all the options. We talk about some Americans. 2 players just went from the Chicago Reapers 15s, great team name, by the way. The Chicago Reapers, Tyler Cooper and Caden Aucoin. I wonder if he's related to Adrian Aucoin, the former NHL defenseman. I just feel so old now seeing all these former NHL players' kids get drafted, and again, I'm in my 30s now. So who is it? Trevor Daly's kid is on the American U18 team. Yeah, jeez.
I feel like I was just cutting him up about 5 years ago when he was playing.
He was playing for Detroit. Yeah, and playing terribly. Yeah.
Wasn't very good. Yep. At that point in his career, good for Dallas Stars, but not. Yeah. Not for Detroit Red Wings. But yeah, 2 players there from Lake Forest, Illinois, and Hinsdale, Illinois. That was the Chicago Mission 15, Caden Aucoin's from. Chicago Reapers is Tyler Cooper.
Yeah, and you know what? That might be an advantage for, as much as we talk about Americans potentially coming here instead of the National Team Development Program. Yeah, we've got 3 American teams. That obviously helps. But we've also got OHL clubs in border cities. You've got the Windsor Spitfires. You've got the Sarnia Sting, which they were the team that drafted Caden Aucoin from Hinsdale, Illinois. You've got, obviously, the Niagara IceDogs. Not a border town, but it's close enough, so we'll count it. You've got Kingston, just up or out east, I guess you could say.
Upstate New York area.
Upstate New York area, yeah. So that's one thing to consider if you're one of those teams. Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan is right across. So you have to weigh the options, right? And I think it provides a little bit of a benefit for those teams. Not much, but I think a little bit when you get these American kids who are from Western New York or maybe Pennsylvania. You get the Michigan kids that
Sam Hillebrand from Florida.
Right. Well, Ivan Lodnia was a California kid and then moved to Michigan. So that's still one of the best stories. One of his youth teams was called the IceDogs, and then he ends up playing for the Niagara IceDogs.
Former captain Ivan Lodnia.
Yeah, still one of the best stories ever. One of the best kids that I met in my 3 years here. That Born Ready series that we did on social media, that was really fun, and to talk to his sister too was awesome.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it's it's different. The OHL is different. They're looking to expand. It looks like they're at least going to look to expand in the States first before they look at any other Canadian markets. You think of teams that used to be in the league, Cornwall Royals, they'd either need a new building or a massive renovation like we saw at the Civic Centre in Brantford. Belleville's got the arena there, but they've got an American Hockey League club, and Michael Landlauer has committed to keeping the team there. So that's kind of tough. You don't really want those two teams in the same building because that sounds like a scheduling nightmare. It just things need to settle down, I think, a little bit. I think we need a year of this NCAA to see exactly what happens before we get that expansion. But it's exciting times in the OHL. You know what? It's nice to get a new voice at the helm with David Branch retiring and Brian Crawford coming in, who has a lot of great ideas. Yep. First met him at the Top Prospects game, and it was a great 5-minute conversation that we had with him. So it couldn't be a better time around this league, and I think the Niagara IceDogs specifically will bring it back to them. Have a really good chance to tap into the American market a little bit more. A, because they're a border town. B, they can have connections with the NCAA, and there is history here. There's no championships, but there is history here, and I think there's a lot to be said about that.
And I look at kind of, if we try to correlate it, you look at another Junior A league classified as Junior A in the OJHL, and you look at how much recruiting they do in the United States, and they do get some players to come that maybe would never have come before. Now with the OHL having that ability to have guys that come from America not lose their Division I eligibility, which is such a big thing, I think now you're going to start to see maybe like we saw in those other minor Junior A or even Junior B leagues where some of these guys are doing, like you mentioned, heavily recruiting in America to get these American kids to be able to come over and play in the OHL, WHL, QMJHL, which they would never have had the opportunity to do before because you never want to lose your eligibility for NCAA. So I think now you might start to see a little bit more of that as we go forward. And you talked about the expansion, and I'm glad you brought up Brian Crawford because we've had him on a post-game show as well here. I've talked to him on our OHL Overtime interview episode. I think you guys have even talked to him for the OHL in 60 podcast. Correct me if I'm wrong. But or at least
off the record.
The record, okay. Yep. But again, he just is bringing, I think, a breath of fresh air, and this is no spite on David Branch because he did a lot of great things for the OHL. Brian Crawford's coming in, and he wants to make some big changes. Yeah. And he's really forward thinking. He talked about expansion as well. If Youngstown and Muskegon if that is something down the road that will be a possibility with expanding more in the United States for the OHL, that will only bring more recruiting and more American players will want to come to the now Ontario / New York / Michigan / Pennsylvania Hockey League. Yeah. But regardless of that, I think when you look at if the OHL expands to 22 teams, do you think that's going to be a positive thing? Do you think it might saturate the talent? Do you think it might saturate the teams? Or do you think that now with this agreement, if we wouldn't have had this agreement in place, do you think that may have been a little bit more of a concerning factor?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if there was no NCAA agreement, you couldn't go higher than 20. You just couldn't. The product would be watered down. There obviously more teams, more opportunity, which can be a good thing. But when you look at some of the top-end stars and they look at the league, they might see it the same way I just said it, is that it's not as good as it used to be because there's more teams. Maybe it's watered-down competition than what it used to be. I think with this NCAA agreement, you still have doors open for a lot of players who were not going to come here if that wasn't a thing. So I think you can't go too far. I think 24 is the max you can go. I don't think you can go higher than that. The WHL is about to go to 21 next year and 22 the year after. So it'll be interesting to see what they look like. I think the OHL might take a look at that first before they officially do anything. But I think the product will be just fine with the NCAA agreement. But if that wasn't a thing, then you had to stay at 20. There's no way you could go higher than that.
No, I totally agree with that. I think it would have caused a lot more problems for the league down the road if you kind of bit off more than you could chew right at the beginning. But it looks like Brian Crawford's going to take a forward-thinking but in a smart way approach, like as far as what he's going to do with expansion and other things and initiatives that he wants to bring to the Ontario Hockey League. I think it's going to be an exciting 2 or 3 years to see how far this league grows, and I'm just excited that we're here to cover it. As we look at Ryerson Edgar a little bit more here, Reece, the IceDogs 10th overall selection in the 2025 OHL Priority Selection tonight. We're still awaiting their third-round pick, which is pick number 49. We're currently at pick number 37, almost at the end of the second round here. The Sudbury Wolves picking guy Vladimir Provorov from the New Jersey Rockets, the latest pick. But the York Simcoe Express, he's played for them for 2 seasons with their U15 program, had 75 points, 40 goals in 35 games, and then in 10 playoff games had 14 playoff points. And then this year, his draft year, played for the U16 program, was the captain of this team, 33 goals, 60 points in 32 games, and then 23 points in 10 playoff games. And obviously, if he's a playoff-type performer, that's exactly the type of guys that the IceDogs want. You know that they want guys that can play in those tough days in April and May. They really like Ethan Zada for that type of play that he kind of brings, that playoff style, and just continuing to add more guys like that. And then he even got into 3 games with the strong Collingwood Blues team in the Ontario Junior Hockey League. Small sample size, but a goal and assist in 3 games. So 15-year-old, he's not going to turn 16 until the end of July 30th actually. He's going to obviously grow. He's only 15 years old. He's not going to stay at 5'10" unless he's me. And he's going to stay at 5'7.5" the rest of his life, but hopefully he's got better genes than that. But will be draft eligible for the 2027 NHL draft. I can't believe, just looking at that is crazy. But early thoughts, again, as we kind of hone things back to the IceDogs first-round pick, Ryerson Edgar.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with trying to get a playoff performer and a guy that has performed in the playoffs in the past. And again, we're not comparing the OMHA to the OHL; it's completely different. But having a guy that's been there, it helps. And again, he's got to get OHL playoff experience to really understand what it takes at this level. But I think when you have a group that has been in the playoffs, it'd be different if it was last year. The IceDogs have never been in the playoffs, and he's coming in, and he has the most recent playoff experience out of any player. Then there might be an issue there. But when you've got guys, and that was the big part about playoffs, period. When you mention that, you've got the group of guys that can now help Ryerson get experience that could help him along. And there will be games, Ryerson probably won't play 68 games. Again, it's hard to find a rookie that does unless they have an exceptional status. But, you have guys that have been in the playoffs now that can help the next crop coming up that will help the next bit that get drafted next year and the year after that. And that was the one big thing about the IceDogs, making the playoffs every year for as many years as it was after moving over here from Mississauga, is you just had that constant rotation of guys who had been to the playoffs helping the new guys come in. Well, those new guys 3 years down the road can help the next crop of guys, and you're back into that rotation with the IceDogs now. Is you've got a group that was in the playoffs, you've got a new batch of rookies. If you get to that point next year, you know what it takes now. And again, that's a big part of just getting to the playoffs and helping the future of the franchise.
No, that's definitely big. And when you look at the IceDogs projected depth chart now, Reece, when you look at the forward side of things and you try to kind of pencil in where you think Ryerson Edgar would be, you obviously don't want to put too much pressure on him right away, and you'd think that, maybe the third or fourth line would be a good spot for him. Max Crete, started on the top line to begin the year, a hot start, but then, played in a bottom 6 role there for most of the season as a second-round pick for the IceDogs, learning the game. Brady Wasslin was up on the first line, second line, third line. So it's just interesting to kind of wait and see, because you don't know with the OA situation. If we kind of just go ahead and look at this and making sure we got some time to discuss this. 39, we're at in pick number 39. IceDogs are up in 10 picks. We won't miss that. But you've got Ryan Roberk up front, and then you've got some decisions to make. And again, this is way too early to know what we're going to do.
Yep.
But Alex Asadorian and Matthew Paris, two very valuable 19, 20-year-olds this season.
Need them to stay healthy.
Now going into their overage seasons, both of them have to be healthy, because we saw when number 54 and number 8 were in the lineup, the IceDogs were just such a deeper team and such a more dangerous team. But that was the problem, right, is getting them both to stay on the ice. And if you want to bring back guys as overagers, especially up front, you want to make sure that they're the most important thing is availability.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Because then you've got 1, 2 OAs on the back end and potentially an OA goalie. And it's tough. It really is. And again, I'm thankful I'm not a general manager anywhere. But when you talk about Ryerson, a right-handed shot, we talked to Ben. That's a big part of the reason that he is a Niagara IceDog is because he's a right-handed shot. As we have our first goaltender, let's give a shout-out to Lucas Johnson going to the Brampton Steelheads. I almost said battalion, by the way. Evanston, Illinois.
Chicago Reapers.
There we go. Reapers are on a roll here. That should be good. Brampton's had a really good history of drafting goaltenders. So
yeah, Leenders and Ivan Kovac ain't too bad.
Yeah, that continues. So, but I think for the right shot, you're not going to throw him right into the fire. Obviously, I would love to see what he could do with Crete and potentially probably Wasselin. I'd like to see that line. That'd be really interesting. Again, we're way ahead.
We're playing
of where
armchair
we should
GM
be.
here.
Pretty much. Hey, that's fitting. But it's right shot. You can put him anywhere at this point. Like I think
Ben Boudreau was so excited about that because when Paris was out of the lineup, they really only had Doherty until they made the Aerosmith trade as the only right shot forward on the team. You've got so much talent, but they're all lefties, and that just adds another dynamic with a right shot.
Yeah, exactly. And the versatility, he's a center, but he can if he can adjust to the wing, then you're gold. If you can't adjust, then you're a coach's nightmare. If you can, you're a coach's dream. Coaches want versatility. I don't care what sport you're playing. Football might be a little difficult. Linemen really can't catch footballs downfield, but God, that'd be funny. But that's called a legal man downfield. But it's for Edgar, he's going to get a bunch of opportunities again, unless they go out and get a right shot defenseman via trade. Or defenseman, just player in general, unless they go get someone via trade or they keep drafting right shots, then I can't see why not he can't play anywhere. There'd be no reason. And give him opportunities. Like if he's playing well, why not? Why not move him up? We've seen Ben do that. Guys who have been playing well, they get rewarded with that. And I think that's big for 16-year-olds to get that recognition that, hey, I'm playing well. My coach believes in me. I'm moving up to the second line. That makes a huge difference for a guy 2-3 years down the road that, hey, if I'm all of a sudden in a role where I'm better on the third line, I can accept that. Playing everywhere and being someone that can play up and down the lineup is huge. It makes a coach's job way easier.
Shout out to IceDogs defenseman Callum Shanowski, who chimed in the chat. Niagara native, Welland boy, former Brantford Bulldog draft pick, or Hamilton Bulldog. I know you guys don't like saying that, but he was in Hamilton. He was drafted in Hamilton, but now Brantford with the Bulldogs. But now here with his hometown team, really progressed this year, full-time role. And we talk about the D-Corps. Obviously going to need people to step up with, if they bring back Andrew Wysick and the loss of Noah Van Vliet graduating on to NCAA. But then you've got Jack Brody, Callum Shanowski, and Matthew Virgilio as the, I guess, elder statesmen back there as 06s.
Yep.
3 of them, so they're going to need some reinforcements back there. That's why you would think the IceDogs are going D. Again, we don't have any confirmation or anything like that, but with their third-round pick, you would assume maybe a defenseman is something that they're going to be kind of coveting there. But when you look at it, again, they're going to have some decisions with OAs because they've got about 5 guys that are going to be overagers next year, and we could be talking about filling some big holes with Asadorian, Paris, Wysick, Scott, Levin, Robertson in the net, whether they decide that he's going to be somebody they move forward with or not. You lose your starting goalie in Owen Flores. But there's going to be guys that could possibly step in there. You've got, Matthew Humphrey's going to take another year forward. Hayden Jeffrey, Finn Moffat are also signed. So, Reece, what is your outlook here as there's going to be moves in the offseason, and we know that they're going to have to plug 2 or 3 holes at least, especially on the back end, and figure out what's going to be with the goaltending. But up front, it looks like, Asadorian and Paris are back. What they decide to do there, but what would you think is going to be their biggest need here in the offseason?
They're going to have to figure out who their guy in net is. I think that's going to be their biggest challenge. Clear cut should be Charlie Robertson.
But he's an OA.
But he's an overager, correct. He had his fair share of injuries this season, so obviously we're not saying it's going to carry over. We hope he's fully healthy. We like seeing guys play 68 games, although goaltenders don't play 68 games. But with Robertson, yeah, you have to decide. Are you going to keep your 3 OAs as skaters? Are you going to keep 2 and have 1 as a goaltender? That's a huge decision. Humphreys is the youngest out of the 3 others. Jeffrey and Moffat. Jeffrey's getting a long playoff run with the St. Catharines Falcons right now. Moffat the same, albeit he's not starting. John Lloyd's the starter in Fort Erie, but Moffat is still there as the backup, so you never know. There's an opportunity there, so those 2 will go at it in the Eastern Conference Finals.
He played a period against Barrie in that second playoff game, which was, a weird story in itself.
And he looked good.
He stopped.
Could easily been 6-1.
Yeah, I think he stopped 14-17.
Yeah, it could have been way worse than it was. So I think that's the biggest challenge the IceDogs are going to have this year. Defense, you've got, looking at it realistically, it's more of an experienced defense with what? You've got 3 06s, potentially 2 OAs. DeWatcher's an 07, potentially Wasselin is an 06. That's okay. I'm not really panicking at that. I think you have to have an OA defenseman just out of basic necessity for the development of your younger defensemen.
Van Vliet was so valuable.
Oh, God, I wish
should have been a Sudbury Wolf.
Should have been, yeah. If they realized they wanted to go for it in the summer and not change their mind midway through the year. But I digress. So I think defense will be okay. I think they need to go out and get somebody who has experience in this league. It'd be nice to get a third-year player to come over and join the IceDogs blue line. I think that'll be a need that they'll have to address throughout the season. And then up front, there's not a whole lot to complain about, to be honest with you. And again, you have to make a decision with what you're doing with your OAs, but if you have Asadorian, Paris, and Robrick as a top line, yeah, I'm in for that. You've got Zada, Wasselin, Galyanov is an 07, Doherty's an 06, Creet's an 08, Aerosmith being an 07. You've got a nice mix of 07s, 06s, a couple 08s sprinkled in there that I think up front it's going to be fairly easy to put the group together. It's just about finding out who can play with who in training camp and figuring that out quickly and getting them together as soon as possible. The one thing that we see around the league usually is there's still a lot of guys that are around the team into the exhibition season. For the IceDogs, it was a little bit different last year because it seemed like you had your team ready to go at Labor Day when you started playing exhibition games. And that can provide a benefit. On the other end, maybe it's a chance not to see some other guys and potentially down the road if you get injuries. But I think they'll be fine up front. You've got the right group together. Defense, I think there needs to be a move made. You can draft a guy, but it's not really going to be a huge impact this year. So I think a trade might be on the docket for the defense. And then goalies is going to be the big decision. Who's your guy? Are you going to keep an OA in net, or are you going to fully commit to having an experienced defense and a younger goaltender behind them?
Yeah, I think whatever they do, they're going to have to get Matt Humphrey some experience to, obviously he's the goalie of the future and the guy that they are very high on as a 16-year-old, had to play even in more games than they had envisioned with the injuries to Robertson and Flores this year. You'd think, if Jeffrey is going to be that veteran guy, is going to be 19 next year, obviously had that incredible win against the London Knights, but can he do that for a full season? That's pretty hard to say. You never know with goalies, but again, it's such a crapshoot, and there's going to be some OA goalies available as well via trade and things like that throughout the league, so we'll see what kind of goalies become available, but I think it's going to be Matt Humphreys is going to be kind of the 1B there, and we'll see what they kind of do with the 1A, whether that be Robertson, Jeffrey, or somebody that's not currently in the organization. That's going to be obviously the biggest question mark going into the season, but something you mentioned about up front, I counted 8 guys between the 07 and 08 birth year, and then you add Ryerson Edgar to that. That's 9 players that are either 07, 08, and 09 draft class. That's just on forward. And that's pretty incredible to think about, that the IceDogs have a young nucleus. If they can keep them together, if they all reach overagers, then they're going to have a lot of decisions for the 07 draft class when they become OAs, which will make me feel really old. But, they got a lot of guys from those last 3 draft classes.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the draft. If you can build your franchise through the draft, you're golden. It's a skill to be able to do that. You have to have a good mix between trading and free agency and your draft. But if the majority of your team comes out of the draft, essentially the way you want to play, that's how you pick. And obviously you got to pick up superstars sometimes to go and win a championship. But building through the draft, it's essentially you're putting the pieces together yourself. You're not controlling the market for trades. You're not having to deal with another GM to try and get a player for a certain return that you don't like. So, maybe not as much control there. But through the draft, if you can keep this core together for another year, it'll be interesting. You're right, with the Memorial Cup coming back to the Ontario Hockey League. Kitchener already seems like they're throwing their hat in there at the auditorium. IceDogs have expressed their interest to bid again. We'll see if somebody else does. But you're kind of lining it up for that. If I guess that's how people want to look at it.
And next year is going to be fun because, again, you don't know kind of what's to come for guys like Ryan Robrick and Brady Wasslin. We know that the attention's going to be on number 25, Ryan Robrick. Brady Wasslin might fly under the radar a little bit just because it's Ryan Robrick. And in a normal draft year where you didn't have a guy like that, he would be looked at as such a highly touted, he's still projected first-round pick right now. Early projections for the 2026 NHL draft for those quote-unquote experts out there that make draft lists. But Ryan Robrick, by all intents and purposes, might be up there with Gavin McKenna from the Western Hockey League, who's completely tearing it up out there for that possible top pick in the NHL draft. We don't know, but a great year this year for OHL talent at the top of the NHL draft upcoming with the Matthew Schaefers, the Michael Misas, the Porter Martones. Going to be a fantastic year for the OHL, and you think next year when Robrick is part of that conversation, it's going to be exciting, and a lot of extra eyes are going to be on the Niagara IceDogs because of number 25 and number 66 and their NHL draft prospect.
I was going to say your upper level is going to be filled with scouts next year. Going to have a full media room all season long.
Great.
At least you won't get kicked out of your gondola spot.
Hopefully not.
Had that happen a few times because there's been so many scouts. But, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. The job of the coaching staff is to develop these guys for the next level. And you want to see these guys succeed. Talk about us feeling old or you feeling old or whoever because of you seeing all these guys' birth years. It's hilarious. We get older, but the players stay the same age. It's that 16 to 20-year-old range. They move on, but the ages stay the same for the kids that are here, but we get older. So that's they say you mature with age, but I don't think that's happened with me.
When you're around 16 to 20-year-olds for 9 months a year, it's hard to you're going to learn some lingo that you might have not even known existed when you're becoming in your 30s and don't really understand what they're talking about sometimes. But
some of the stuff sounds really stupid nowadays. I don't know where they get this crap from, but what's the one that there's one saying that I absolutely hate. It slaps. What the heck does that even mean?
Or he's got the Riz. You like that one?
I've never heard that. What does that even mean?
He's got like charisma.
Oh.
The Riz.
You mean the kids aren't saying charisma nowadays?
No, they just shorten everything to like half words.
Man.
And then add different letters at the end of it. But
okay.
Anyways, we kind of wrangle it back in here. We're at pick number 44. The IceDogs are at pick number 49, so 4 picks before the IceDogs are on the clock for their final pick of the night. Again, no second-round pick for the IceDogs this season, and the first time in a while they haven't had multiple first- and second-round picks at their disposal. 2/3 last year, taking Nick Frasca and Matthew Humphreys were their latest third-round picks in the last draft. Again, these are quality players that even from you covering the Brantford Bulldogs, you've seen, with their drafting and development, that third-round picks can become very good impact players. Maybe not year 1, but year 2, 3, 4. Those are going to be your guys that are going to be either top 6 forwards or top 4 defensemen that you need.
Yeah, and we're really starting to see the American picks ramp up here in round number 2, approaching round number 3, going back to 34 with Erie with Tyler Cooper from Lake Forest, Illinois. We talk about Provorov from Bound Brook, New Jersey, Johnson from Evanston, Illinois. We've got a defenseman going to Saginaw, Drew Roscoe from St. Peters, Missouri. 6'5", 177.
6'5"?
Holy crap.
No wonder.
Saginaw's got a giant. All right. Yeah, I'd take him too. You've got Landon Jackman, a centerman from Wentzville, Missouri, 6'2", 207. Geez, what the heck are they feeding them in Missouri?
Good farm boys out there.
Yeah. Roscoe came from Shattuck St. Mary's Sabres. Jackman came from Detroit Little Caesars. Then you've got an Iowa kid from Detroit Little Caesars at Sarvier Jaworski going to Sarnia, so there's your border town. And then we're back with Bowmanville with the London Knights. But these might be the American. This might be the American group, and I could be wrong. This might not be the case, but we might be starting to see picks of these American kids where they might be higher, but they might have commitments to the USHL, so we don't want to take them in the first round. And, we don't really know if we can get them in the second round. I would hope you can get them or not. But, we might be starting to see that with all of these American players being taken.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this kind of streak of American players here right up to the end of the second round as the third round is about to begin here with the Kitchener Rangers at 44 and then the IceDogs pick at 49. But yeah, a ton of Americans go at the end of that second round. I don't know comparatively what that looks like to previous years, but I'm sure that number is definitely up with what we talked about earlier with the NCAA agreement.
Yeah, for sure, because we would usually start to see that probably tomorrow. When round number 4 on.
A day 1 thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it could be. Sorry, I'm amazed. 6'5", 177. One goal, 33 assists in 50 games for Drew Roscoe.
Saginaw's got a big boy there.
Well, they got to kind of rebuild their blue line. My opinion, I don't
hope he can skate, that's all.
Well, yeah, there's that. I'm not comparing him to Zane Parekh by any means, but I don't think Zane Parekh is an OHLer next year. I think he's in the NHL with Calgary, so they essentially have to start rebuilding their blue line. They've got their Memorial Cup. Now it's time to get back down to, not reality, but kind of get back to normalcy, you could say, because they've been good for a number of years.
You look at third-round picks comparatively, what you might be able to get in this round. Most recent third-round picks, I mentioned Matt Humphreys for the IceDogs, Hayden Reed, who ended up becoming a piece of that Flint trade, and then signed with Flint after he was I think he was an NCAA commit, so then he was able to sign with Flint and play with them up until the end of the season. You've got Dylan Robrick, was a third-round pick in 2020, who obviously went on to do great things with Oshawa, now with the Hartford Wolfpack in the New York Rangers organization
this year. Man, he lit it up with Hartford for sure.
Yeah, he played well with Oshawa, but they definitely could have used him this year as well if he wouldn't have made pro hockey. But he was too big not to be in pro hockey. 6'7" or 8, whatever he is.
Well, that's like Casper Halton, and why the heck is he in the OHL? The tough questions.
Yeah,
we can't answer.
No. Oliver Castleman was a 4th-round pick. Great OHLer for the IceDogs.
I loved Oliver Castleman.
Great player.
Great guy.
Yep, absolutely.
He was part of that line that I thought was going to take the IceDogs to a championship one day. And they were all team numbers. I mean, back then, I guess year one, it was still, you can't have a number higher than 30, but you had Daniel Singer, local kid, you had Oliver Castleman, and you had Matthew Phillip. That line had such a great start to the season in the 16-17 year, and I thought they were going to do great things with this club. And Oliver Castleman did, but Singer eventually gets moved out. Phillip had some injury issues. He gets moved out as well. And Castleman was the only one left for the 18-19 team. But, yeah, I mean, that's the type of player you can get. I loved Oliver Castleman. Great guy off the ice, and a great player on the ice.
Yeah, he had great chemistry with Akil Thomas. I
Yes,
remember
he did.
they were lighting up the score sheet. Graham Knott was a former third-round pick, a guy that was Chicago Blackhawks draft pick. Stephen Dillon, one of the best IceDog goalies of all time when you count his OHL numbers, as far as not guys that went on to do great things at the NHL level, like an Alex Nedeljkovic, or even guys like Mark Vizentine or Brett Moran. But as far as what they did as IceDogs, Stephen Dillon had a great OHL career in that sense. And those were kind of the most recent third-rounders that the IceDogs have taken. To give you an idea of what you could be looking at as far as talent level in this draft, Andrew Fritsch. The development coach for the IceDogs and working with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Third-round pick back in 2009 was for Andrew Fritsch, who makes frequent appearances here at the Meridian Centre with this team. And Mark Vizentine, there it is, 2008, the IceDogs' first draft here in Niagara, the 55th overall, became arguably the best IceDog goaltender of all time, winning the most valuable goaltender of the year in the Ontario Hockey League, drafted first round by the then Phoenix Coyotes, and now goaltending coach with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, but an amazing career for Mark Vizentine as a goaltender, and he was a third-round pick as well.
Yeah, wow, that's quite a list. Like, when we talk about these kids in the first round and how good they can be, it really doesn't stop there. You know, we can talk about, first-rounder compared to a 15th rounder. It is what it is. But, go back to our conversation probably an hour and a half ago. Really doesn't make a difference. If you put in the work, you're going to be good. Like, you got to be committed to doing it. And who cares where you're taken? Whether it's first, second, third, 12th, 13th, 14th, who cares?
We're at pick number 46, another Michigan, Flat Rock, Michigan, Detroit Honeybake, Ty Bergeron goes to the Windsor Spitfires. There you go.
See, your border town.
Border town, Windsor, Detroit, right there. You know that Bill Bowler and his staff probably got a good look at him. And those are the guys that can end up going because of these new opportunities available that we've been kind of talking about with these American-born players. IceDogs are going to be on the clock in 3 picks. After that, we're probably going to take our last commercial break and then come back and hopefully have our special guest join us before we wrap up the night. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in for the over 2.5 hours. I feel like it hasn't been 2.5 hours. I think it's flown by quicker.
Yeah, it's gone pretty quick.
It's gone quicker than 2.5 hours, and I appreciate, again, Reece Doumani from the OHL 60 podcast joining me here to not just talk to the wall all night long and actually have some great discussion that we've had on the show.
Well, the wall does have a photo of the 2016 Eastern Conference champions up there.
Yeah, it does look pretty good, eh?
Which, speaking of third rounders, Graham Knott is in that photo.
Hey.
Got to give a shout out to that.
Oh, yeah. There's Captain Anthony DeFruscia, not even looking at the picture.
Oh, no.
He's looking somewhere else. Alex Nedeljkovic is looking at the camera at least.
Yeah.
But I think there's Brendan Perlini.
Yep.
In the street clothes. I think he was suspended for that game.
I think so, yeah.
But
what a guy.
Oh, yeah. So
what a team.
What a team. And you hope, again, that's the IceDogs goal, right? Get back to that, 2016, and then even go further because, again, the job wasn't complete. 2012 and 2016, same London Knights. I don't want to get going too much on that because we're going to get a text in a minute.
We will. We're going to get one anyways, yeah. There it is.
There it is, right on cue. Yep, figured that was coming.
Yep.
Oshawa Generals have just picked a Canadian. We're actually shocked that Canadians get picked right
that's
now
amazing,
in the
isn't it?
third round in the Ontario Hockey League. But Guelph, Ottawa, and then Niagara, the pick they got from the North Bay Battalion, will be their final pick before we go forward here.
It's you know what? Looking at these picks, I'm just gonna count for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sorry, I'm going too far. But like on one, I've got just enough fingers for how many picks in rounds 2 and 3 that are the team's owned. Like, they're not trades. Which makes me very thankful that the OHL does not allow teams to trade first-round picks.
The WHL is a disaster.
Oh, that's why Regina just won the draft lottery last night. They have not recovered since the 2018 Memorial Cup that they hosted. It's been, like, Connor Bedard was awesome. It's been hard to watch Regina Pats hockey for a number of years.
Even with a guy like Connor Bedard.
Yeah, and the Edmonton Oil Kings, who were just in the postseason, I think they're out now. I think they lost in 7. They had the best odds to win the draft lottery because they made a trade. But they made the playoffs. I figure that one out. It makes no sense to me at all. Thank you, OHL. Brian Crawford, out of all of the changes, please don't make this one of them. The fact that teams keep their first-round picks is awesome because it can just, make a franchise irrelevant for a number of years. And it's unfortunate. Regina has a ton of history in the Canadian Hockey League, in their city, and they have not recovered from it whatsoever. So thank you for us not allowed to draft first-round picks. I'm still grateful for that to this day.
Yeah, no trading of firsts is definitely something that I am happy that this league does not allow to do. But again, like you mentioned, in the second and third round, you just see second-round picks being thrown around. And again, not many picks were their own in the second round. And we've got another Don Mills Flyers player, Charlie Sullivan, to Guelph. So Ottawa is on the clock, and then the Niagara IceDogs are on deck for their next selection to end night 1 here. 49th
got the music
overall.
queued up? That was good. I loved it.
Oh, I've got the music queued up.
Attaboy.
We'll get that going here since they're almost on the clock, so we'll get the epic music going already.
Love it. I love that. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm curious who this is going to be. I want it to be a defenseman, but I don't know if it will be. It's it's a need, but I don't know if it's a need like for a 16-year-old. I think you want obviously the next guy for when this crop leaves, but for the IceDogs, you need a defenseman that's been in this league. If that's going to be one of your acquisitions this year, you need a defenseman that's played games in this league.
Especially if you want to take a step as a more competitive playoff team and not be a 7 seed. They definitely need to not only make this pick a defenseman, but then continue to add on to that. Andrew Wysick was a former third-round defenseman for this team, a third-round pick. Again, could come back for his overage year. The longest tenured IceDog, Andrew Wysick, the only one left from the 2021 or 2020 drafts for the Niagara IceDogs in the organization. So he's been through a lot here with this team. And again, we'll have to wait and see. Ottawa still on the clock here, and then the IceDogs are going to make their selection. But yeah, I mean, you look at they took Nick Frasca last year in the 3rd round. The year before that, they took Artem Frolov in the 2nd round. So they do have a history of taking defensemen with, the 2nd or 3rd round pick in the draft. They didn't have a 3rd in 2022, so they weren't able to do that there. But this is kind of where you would expect that if that would be an area that they think is a need, then that would be something that comes up now. I don't think goaltender is something.
No.
They already have Matt Humphreys as the guy that's going to be, the marinating as the prospect goaltender. They need a veteran presence back there. So again,
we're on the clock.
On the clock now. Cade Campbell goes to Ottawa, so the Niagara IceDogs are on the clock. Got to listen in.
If there is a Drew Roscoe available, you get him.
6'5".
Yeah, maybe not 6'5", maybe 6'1" or 2. That's 6'5". Oh my God.
We're gonna wait. We're going to play the epic music and await to hear the IceDogs' 3rd round selection. Okay, so we have the pick, but it was hard to hear. Caden Bell, right defenseman, we called it.
There you go.
There we go. Right defenseman, 5'11", from Scarborough, Ontario, from the Don Mills Flyers, U16. Caden Bell is the newest Niagara IceDog.
Shoots right. I know he's a defenseman, but he shoots right. So, yeah, he had a good season for the Don Mills Flyers. He had 29 points. 10 of those were goals in 32 games. He was a junior Canadian in 2023-2024, moving over to Don Mills in 2024-2025. I love the pick. We talk about how much we want a defenseman, but I want an experienced defenseman for this IceDogs team next year. You still need to have that next group come up through the system. 5'11", so he's got a little bit of height at 15 years old. You expect him to get, he's 0.75 away from 6 feet. I fully expect him to get to 6 feet come August or September. But I love the pick. I think this worked out really well for the IceDogs in this first day of the draft. They get a right shot up front. Now they get a right shot on the back end.
Right shots are always valuable. It seems like left-handers in baseball. They're just They're just, even if you're not a very good left-handed reliever, you're valued because there just aren't as many.
Yeah.
And the same thing with right shot defense. We see it in the NHL. How many times in the trade deadline do we see, guys that you thought, wow, you could get a draft pick for that guy because he's a right shot?
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of people say, well, when was the last Stanley Cup champion that you saw that had all one-sided shot on their team? The 2008 Detroit Red Wings had all left shot defensemen. Now, Nick Lidstrom was on that team, so that's a little different. But it's not common as much as we would think it would be. So I can't say enough good things. The OHL Cup, he had 8 points in 7 games, split between goals and assists, 4-4. And he's got a little bit of an edge. 32 penalty minutes in 37 games. That was 2 years ago, but this year it was more 8 and 32, so that's a little bit more disciplined. Might have been something that he looked to work on coming into the draft, but I like it. I think the IceDogs got it right here in round 3.
Yeah, again, that's what we were looking at defense in this area, because that's kind of where they've gone the last few years if you're based off of their strategy with going with a defenseman in the second and third round. And that's definitely something that the IceDogs will look at, and maybe he's able to crack the lineup. If not, 7th, 8th defenseman, or starts somewhere else. We see how many times we see guys, take a year to develop or marinate either in the OJ or the GOJHL or one of those leagues like that. Whether that's going to be the case for Caden Bell, we'll have to wait and see. But you don't have to rush them in, which the IceDogs have had to do with the last couple years' worth of draft classes because they were rebuilding their roster from top to bottom.
Yeah, you can go somewhere and get the reps, get normal reps, play on the top pairing, second pairing, whatever the case might be, maybe get some power play time. The big thing for a lot of these young guys are just getting the reps, and whether it be here, whether it be somewhere else, won't really make a huge difference.
No, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and we're going to welcome on one of our special guests, and General Manager Wes Consorti is going to join us. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. We'll be right back after this.
Did you know that the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going any way we can, because we believe. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Cully's Original Sports Bar is your ultimate destination for unbeatable food, drinks, and sports action in Niagara. Whether you're gearing up for a big game, winding down after a day at the office, or just looking for a lively spot to catch up with friends, Cully's has you covered. Their menu is packed with mouth-watering options, from classic pub favorites to unique chef specials, all served alongside a wide selection of craft beers, cocktails, and daily drink deals. With multiple TVs broadcasting the latest sports events, you won't miss a minute of the action, no matter where you sit. Cully's Original Sports Bar, a proud supporter of Niagara IceDogs hockey. Whether you're gearing up for the game or celebrating a big win, Cully's is the place to be before and after every IceDogs matchup. Check out their menu online at cullys.com. Give them a call at 905-684-1771 or check them out on Facebook, X, or Instagram for more information. Located at 223 St. Paul Street in the heart of downtown St. Catharines, just minutes from the Meridian Centre. Open daily Sunday to Thursday till midnight and Friday to Saturday till 2 a.m. for those late night eaters. Cully's, it happens here.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
This is Alex Asadorian. Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio,
My name's Jack Brody, and this is the
Dog Pound Podcast.
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and guest co-host Reece Doumani from the OHL 60 podcast here, continuing to react to the IceDogs Night 1 of the OHL Priority Selection of 2025. The IceDogs have made 2 picks so far with the first-round selection that they were able to take in Ryerson Edgar, and then most recently with their third-round selection, 49th overall, right defenseman Caden Bell. And we're pleased to welcome on our second guest of the evening tonight. Head coach Ben Boudreau joined us earlier, and now we're pleased to welcome on the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Wes Consorti. Wes, thanks a lot for joining us today. I know tonight and tomorrow are going to be definitely exciting, but hectic days for you and your staff. First off, do you enjoy the draft process? You've been through now 3 of them here in Niagara. Are these kind of days that you circle on the calendar as exciting days?
Yeah, I think it's super exciting just for the players, full marks to the scouting staff, all their work throughout the year. So it's a nice payoff. And, for their friends and family, like these guys aren't just playing for themselves. They got a lot of people back home and a lot of buddies following them all the way up. And to see, the payoff for them as well on Friday, Saturdays is pretty enjoyable, making phone calls and just being a part of their hockey journey. And it's just nice to see. It's just part of the circle of hockey, and we're just happy to be a part of it.
How much do you enjoy seeing the guys come into the facility, big smile on their face, they put on the jersey, the hat for the first time? How much fun? Is that maybe the best part of the whole process, is just to see that?
Yeah, I think, when they first get drafted, I think it's a different feeling from when they actually come in and they see the room, and some have, some haven't, but just to get a feel of, the community around the team, and meeting all the staff and the scouts and some of the players maybe stopping by, but I would think it sinks in a little bit more, just give it a little more comfort. But it's great just to see, and the excitement, you can really see it. It's nice to see the parents and whoever they want to bring. It's just nice to see, and it's just an exciting time for them, and we're just happy to be a cog in the wheel for them.
Niagara IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti is with us. Wes, I know that the season just ended last week, so it's still fresh. But now, as you look ahead to the off season, how did you assess the season? Obviously, some things went well for you, some things didn't, especially in the second half, and trying to work through some on and off ice things that your organization has continued to try to work through and build when you're building up an organization from the bottom up, as you've done the last 2 seasons. How much do you view this as a successful season, and how much more do you obviously have to do in the offseason, because you're losing some key players, and you know that there will be probably some moves that you'll have to make to round out a roster and to be a competitive team next season?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you lose is tough, no matter if it's in the finals, the first round. It's seeing the look on the guys' faces after we were eliminated is a very hard thing to do, and it's just a hard day for everybody, no matter which round. And some good spots throughout the year, I thought. Some good individual success from a lot of guys. We're happy to see some guys move on and sign deals, and the guys returning. There's a hunger there. There's some more experience. There's more preparation that they know they need to take. I think it's just a good time just to reflect for these guys, take some time off. Well, some can, some can't, with the U18s, but we're just, trying to build off this year, obviously, try to make it even a game further next year, or a round further, or 2 rounds further. It's always something that we're very conscious of, and it's just good to get the playoff experience for our young guys and see what we can do next year.
Number 10, take Ryerson Edgar, centerman, 5'10", 157. What was so intriguing about him at number 10?
Yeah, I mean, we had him ranked higher, so, someone we kept an eye on throughout the whole year. Someone that we kind of thought would be in that range for us, and as we saw the picks, knocking off, he was someone just getting closer and closer, and complements our team well, high-end skill, great shot, good instincts, overall, a good player who can come in and make an impact in major junior, and someone that I think the community is going to be excited to see. And I think our current players too will appreciate the high-end skill level that he's got to, just to complement what we already have up front.
Yeah, and a right shot, which is obviously coveted as well. Can move from center to wing. We'll have to wait and see there. But I was just talking before the break, Wes, about the projected lineup and how your kind of depth chart is working out. You've got 9 or 10 between the 07, 08, and now 09 draft classes. How big and important were these last 3 draft classes for the organization when you bring in so many guys, the Robricks, the Zadas, the Wasslins, the Creets, the Hotlisses, the Aerosmith you got in the trade as an 07, and then, bringing in an 09 here in Edgar? Like, how important was it after, trying to go for it that first year you guys were here to really rebuild and build through the draft to make sure it's a stable organization year in and year out?
Well, it's the only way is through the draft, and it's your own guys. You get them in here when they're young. You can really see who they are right away, and get to know, what makes them tick early on, and how to adjust to that, and get them involved in the community right away, get their schooling in right away, just make them feel part of the team and the whole team concept right away, as a first or second year guy whenever they do come in. So we've been very fortunate to have high-end talent players coming into this organization, where we picked with Ryan and Ethan and Brady and Max, and it's been a good thing to see and their success, and we're hoping that the next wave can come in and recognize, when they do come in, how I don't want to say how hard it is, but just how what kind of work you got to put in. The guys that are already here, like they work, and they off the ice and on the ice. It's their they want to take it seriously. They want to make it to the next level, and this is the environment to do it.
When you look at Ryerson and realistically any player that you're looking to bring in through the draft, you can teach them how to play the game of hockey. You can teach them how to skate and play Niagara IceDogs hockey. But when you look at the person, for any GM, how much does that go in to the decision to take somebody?
Yeah, I mean, character drives your room. Being a good teammate is paramount, and players recognize if you're not. And when you are, people gravitate to you. We've seen it with numerous guys, especially our young guys. And these are the guys that you can win with. And, we feel we have a group in there right now with our core that can make that jump. And we feel Ryerson's right there with them. And I would be pretty excited to sit down and see Ryan Rubrick and Ethan Zada and Brady Waslin in the dressing room. So that's something that not many teams can say they got. And anyone coming in, like, these are big time guys, and just to see them, every day and what they do every day is would be pretty important to me.
You've been very busy over the last 3 seasons on night one with first, second, and third round picks. No second this year, so was picking Caden Bell with your third round pick, 49th overall. Because you didn't have a second, did that sort of change the philosophy, change your style, and really hone in on that third round pick of being somebody that addressed a need or just best player available? Kind of what were you guys thinking there?
I did think that more D would go earlier, but, Caden Bell, we're happy to have. Great hockey player, good defenseman, mobile, makes good decisions, shoots right. I mean, that's important to us. That's just the way it is. But yeah, that's someone we thought would be off the board a little earlier, but we're more than happy to have him in a Niagara IceDogs jersey for sure.
Sorry, Reece. Quickly follow up to that about Caden Bell had an opportunity to play at the OHL Cup. Like, how much stock do you put in those guys being able to go to a big tournament like that? Did you see guys' stocks kind of rise from that tournament? Because, again, it's only a small sample size, but it seems like it's the biggest tournament of the minor hockey year as opposed to their seasons. But when a guy goes and plays at a tournament like the OHL Cup and you get a better look at him, in a high pressure tournament like that, does that kind of weigh in your decision as well?
Well, I would use caution with using a tournament like that to make a decision on a guy. I mean, a lot of these players have played 90 games, 80 games. I mean, you got to be careful going into that and making a snap decision or recency bias or anything like that. And that's just the body work from the scouts throughout the year. 2-3 bad games isn't gonna, in our opinion, change a draft position, by numerous spots or rounds on a guy. Like, these guys have played a lot of hockey, and the body work is what's important. And especially a team like his, like they, finals every tournament almost, and lots of games and long season for them. But body work has been outstanding for him throughout the year. So just happy to see that.
How have you been able to adjust the way you think based off of the fact that guys can go to the NCAA now? A lot of people out there on social media are saying, oh, what if the guy's gone after 2 years when he can go to college at 18? Like, how big of a change is that in your philosophy as a general manager, the fact that they can go to the States now? Yeah,
I mean, it's just got to almost adapt or die to it. Yeah. You have to accept the change, the landscape. You're going to see, I think, older players come in, which may shrink some roster spots. Kids saying that they will go to the NCAA. That's great, fantastic. I totally support that. But the avenue is major junior first. So, if players want to say that, I'm going to school, that we are totally fine with that. It's a great path. I was an NCAA player, and I think it's an amazing opportunity for these guys to be able to play major junior. If the NHL route, plan doesn't go to plan, they have the opportunity to go to the NCAA, which is fantastic. So there's lots of ways to look at it, but the main driver is, the CHL is the place to play for these guys if they want to go to the NCAA after, because that's what schools are looking for as well.
And last question for you here, Wes, General Manager Wes Consorti of the Niagara IceDogs. You talk about day 2 coming up tomorrow. We've seen that you guys have signed players that maybe you took on later in day 2, and making sure that, even though that players might not get taken on night 1 here, that doesn't mean that they might not become impactful OHL players. So how do you guys kind of work away at that? And when you do take a guy, for example, as an 11th, 12th, 13th round pick, that you still give them enough encouragement to say, hey, we've signed some guys that you can look on the current roster or the last couple seasons that have been signed and do become OHL players, and that you just have to be ready to go whenever your name is called if, a knock on wood, injuries don't happen, but they do, and you have to sign players and making sure that they're ready to go, even if they are guys that are taken later on day 2 as opposed to the guys that go in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's a busy day tomorrow for sure. Again, going back to the work the scouts do throughout the year, it's just kind of shifting through guys and maybe see guys go a little further down that you think. It's just a lot of just managing your lists and seeing what's there. And it's an important time for them too as well. It's an exciting time for them too. Any round you're drafted in, I think is a privilege for these guys. So busy day for sure. Can get a little tense for some guys for sure, but we're just going to trust the work that's been put in all year, and hopefully we see some guys that we have in our range where we're picking, and don't have to do too much shuffling.
Niagara IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti. Wes, thanks a lot for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the process here, and I know you got some work to do in the off season as well, with maybe a couple moves and things like that. Try to get out on the golf course a little bit, hit the links, but
put the cap down,
put the cap down, and enjoy yourself a little bit, because we all put our heads down during the hockey season. But really appreciate your time. Appreciate your time during the season for our monthly chats with the general manager, and best of luck going into the off season.
Yeah, happy to talk for a few minutes and whatever you guys need. Thank you.
So there was IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti, and great to chat with him. Insight on the IceDogs draft process as they move forward, not only today but tomorrow for day 2. So. Reece, I think we're going to wrap things up here, but it was nice to have the general manager on to kind of go about hear about how the process goes from his end on what they're looking for. Obviously, you're looking for great players, but you're looking for culture fits, especially with this team looking to continue to build in a positive manner in that way. And it seems like they're definitely they've got an idea of what they're looking for. And Ryerson, Edgar, and Caden Bell were definitely important, positive pieces to add to that room.
Yeah. The future for them starts today. The future for the organization starts today. The teams that either didn't make the playoffs or got knocked out in round 1, the 2025-2026 season starts today. Realistically, it started the day after they stopped playing hockey. But in terms of events on the calendar, this starts the next season. This is when you start to look ahead and start to plan what your 16-year-olds mean to your team, and where they're going to fit in. And obviously, when we talked to Ben Boudreau, he said, I've only known this guy for 10 minutes that we were drafting him. So, obviously, got a little bit of research to do, but it starts now. Ben said he doesn't stop. It's a continuous process throughout the entire season. I know Wes is going to be the same way. It's an important time for every franchise, but specifically for the Niagara IceDogs, to get back to a winning culture and get back to a constant appearance in the Ontario Hockey League playoffs. So overall, they got the right shots. They got a guy up front, and they got a guy on the back end. I think it's a successful day for the Niagara IceDogs franchise right now.
Yeah, not having a second, you kind of have to adjust things there. And like you mentioned, a right shot forward and a right shot defenseman, 2 guys that are going to obviously look to crack the lineup right out of training camp. But again, you want to make sure there's enough competition there where you don't have to throw 16-year-olds in the lineup, right, which they've kind of had to do over the last 2 or 3 seasons with a rebuilding team. But Reece, I'll give you final thoughts here as the IceDogs go into the offseason. We've talked about it at length here over the last 3 hours, and we really appreciate everybody that's tuned in, either at some point or for the entire episode today. But, as they go in the offseason, they're going to have to make a few moves here to really round out this team to make it, to increase what they did this year, making it to the first round of the playoffs and losing in 5 games as this number 7 seed. But if they don't want to go through such a long losing streak like they did in the second half of the year, what would be your outlook on the team as they head into a very important offseason for a lot of their building young core?
Stay healthy. I know that's out of a lot of people's control, but that'll be a big thing. But I think for them, kind of try and block out the noise. I know there's a lot of stuff obviously going around about some stuff that's happened off the ice and the cultural review that's going on, but honestly, don't even focus on that. You're here to play hockey, and that's it. You're obviously here to be an ambassador for the Niagara IceDogs organization. You're here to be in the community and try and make an impact off the ice. But in the grand scheme of things, you're here to try and advance yourself in the profession of hockey. And for these guys, again, one, stay healthy, but two, stick to a plan. I think if you start to deviate from what you originally had planned out, then you get into issues. So I think just stay the course. You've got talent here. There's no reason why this team can't be in the playoffs next year. And to be honest, compete for home ice. You got the Eastern Conference is going to be wide open. Everybody knows that. It's going to be a fire sale next year in the Eastern Conference. A lot of teams are going to look to offload players, and if the IceDogs can capitalize, that's obviously a benefit. But you don't necessarily have to, because the 1 seed might be up for grabs. Brantford will be there. I think that's the only one that's guaranteed, because Oshawa's going to sell. Brampton's going to sell. Sudbury, okay.
Maybe they'll go for it again.
They'll sell. Yeah, who knows? But you have teams that have to sell next year, and the IceDogs don't. They don't. They don't have to buy, but they don't have to sell either. It wouldn't surprise me if they brought in another piece, but I think they have any opportunity in the world next year to get home ice in the first round of the playoffs. So you have to come up with a plan. Coaches have to relay the message clear enough to the players, and then you have to stick to the plan all season long and not deviate from it. And I think this franchise will be fine.
Couple of retooling moves here and there, and we'll see what the offseason brings. We saw them revamp the decor last offseason, and going into this season, we might not see maybe the complete overhaul, but definitely, a couple guys to come in there to replace the big shoes to fill of Noah Van Vliet, Owen Flores, and the newly signed Andre Loshk of the Seattle Kraken. Wish all those three gentlemen the best as they move forward into pro hockey. But again, they got a taste of it in that first half of what success could be like, and then it went through the trials and tribulations of the second half. I think we're gonna look back on this season as an important moment for everybody in the Niagara IceDogs organization, of going through that success, going through that failure, and coming out on the better side of it the next couple of years. Because again, this franchise and this fan base has been dying to see a team really go far with the IceDogs organization, and the last 3 years of drafts have been fun to see them kind of progress in that. But that's going to wrap it up for our Niagara IceDogs OHL draft coverage for night 1, rounds 1 to 3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody that tuned in tonight on the Dog Pound podcast here and on our Armchair GM Sports Network live stream on YouTube. Really appreciate everybody tuning in and giving us somebody to talk to for the last 3 hours. And big shout out and thank you to Reece Doumani from the OHL 60 podcast. You and Colin Ward do a great job coming on board the network as well. We're going to do great things here in the OHL playoffs. But really appreciate you taking 3 hours out, Reece, out of your schedule to be able to come on and talk shop with me for a little bit, given your experience with the IceDogs and the OHL in general. So really appreciate you being able to talk with tonight.
Hey, anytime. I love this building. I live 10 minutes away. I'm happy to do it. Anytime, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah, just when they're not playing the Bulldogs, right?
Hey, I mean, I did call a game on the radio against the Bulldogs, so...
Yeah.
And that's the day you got me in a photo of an IceDogs golf shirt.
Yep, that will be.
That was that day.
That will be saved for an eternity. But yes, best of luck, I guess, to the Brantford Bulldogs in the second round of the playoffs. But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you to everybody that tuned in once again. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. But for Reece Doumani, my name is Brandon Caputo. The IceDogs 2 picks tonight: Ryerson Edgar, forward from the York Simcoe Express with the 10th overall pick, and then 49th overall in the third round, Caden Bell, right shot defenseman from the Don Mills Flyers. So that's going to wrap it up. Enjoy the rest of draft weekend. Enjoy the rest of the OHL playoffs. And we'll talk to you again very soon right here on the Dog Pound Podcast. Have a good night.